Chapter 1073. High up in the sky above the cliff, the energy of heaven and earth gathered silently. In an instant, the entire space froze. A majestic energy enveloped the space and suppressed Du Xiaofu's figure. Du Xiaofu's eyes were sharp. Starlight suddenly spread from his golden eyes. Voila! At dawn, there were still a few bright stars hanging in the sky. At this moment, they seemed to be attracted as well. Streaks of starlight fell from the sky and gathered continuously. Finally, they formed a vortex around Du Xiaofu's body. A colorful vortex of starlight spun. It was as bright and dazzling as the Milky Way. The energy became more and more vigorous. It was as if all the energy in this part of the world had been forcefully drawn and devoured. It wanted to tear apart the confinement of the surrounding space. I didn't expect you to have also comprehended the mysteries of the stars. A faint voice came from above the cliff. Then, a runic claw print shot out. This claw print was like a flame and carried dazzling runes. Wherever the runic claw print flew past, the space was directly distorted and compressed into an extremely obvious concave arc. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, this runic claw print instantly landed on the starlight vortex with the force of a thunderbolt. Chi-la! Within the colorful vortex of starlight, there was the sound of space being torn apart. The entire space immediately trembled. Streaks of dazzling starlight energy spread out rapidly. The dazzling light shot out and finally scattered around the vast cliff. Bang! Du Xiaofu's body shot out from midair and crashed into the cliff. He destroyed a piece of hard rock and turned it into fine powder. Large mouthfuls of pale golden blood flowed from his mouth. A streak of primordial spirit power can't save the two of you. That primordial spirit power should have dissipated long ago. Her voice rang out, filled with charm. As the last word faded, a purplish figure also appeared above the cliff. An aura that caused the air to solidify enveloped the surroundings. It was none other than the charming young man who had appeared before. He had returned and chased after Qin Wentian again. It's him. Du Xiaofu's gaze immediately turned extremely solemn as he gazed at the charming young man. He never expected that the person who had caught up to him would be such a terrifying expert. However, from the aura, the charming young man seemed to have suffered a serious injury. Perhaps, he had suffered a great loss under the power of Dongli Qingqing's master's Yuan spirit. Is today really a tribulation? Du Xiaofu's expression was solemn. He knew that he had no chance of contending against the charming young man. Even if this charming young man was already injured and could activate the last of the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron, it would be useless. Now that he had exhausted all his energy, whether or not he could activate the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron was a problem. Yun Mu was also heavily injured. The talisman arrays inscribed on his body were broken, and his body was cracked. His strength was greatly reduced, and he could no longer display any strength. Do you think you can escape? The charming young man smiled and said indifferently, I left traces in my attack. No matter where you run, you won't be able to escape my detection. That streak of primordial spirit power has already dissipated. Now, you don't have any more trump cards, right? I think that with your current cultivation, you haven't reached the domain realm yet. My master's primordial spirit power has dissipated, and her main body is naturally on the way here. If you dare to attack us, my master will definitely not let you off. Dongli Qingqing spoke. She looked at the charming young man, and her eyes were suffused with a green light. Hearing this, the charming young man raised his eyebrows. He was indeed extremely fearful. The old woman's primordial spirit power already possessed such terrifying strength. One could imagine how powerful her main body was. This woman had such a master, and the aura on her body was definitely extraordinary. It was very likely that there was a force behind her that he could not contend against. Ha 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 ha, suddenly, the charming young man laughed. His smile was enough to make the hearts of all the women in the world ripple. He looked at Dongli Qingqing and said, little girl, you seem to be lacking in your ability to lie. Your master's main body probably can't reach Tianhuang mainland in a short period of time. Furthermore, not everyone can attack as they wish on Tianhuang mainland now. He paused for a moment, and the charming young man's dew-like clear eyes shifted. He looked at Dongli Qingqing evilly and said, "Besides, I only want to kill that Du Xiaofu. As for a beauty like you, I can't bear to kill you. Once you become my woman, you will naturally know how good I am. By then, you won't be able to bear to let your master kill me. Hee hee. I'm afraid that's not enough to take my life." Du Xiaofu crawled out from the powder of the rocks. His aura was weak, and he activated the golden rock wings on his back once again. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his smile was somewhat sinister as he stared fixedly at the charming young man. "You're no match for me at all. Even if you have someone backing you, no one will know if I kill you now. No one will know that I'm the one who did it." The charming young man glanced at Du Xiaofu with a faint smile on his face. Then, his gaze landed on the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back. That domineering and intimidating pressure was the aura of a supreme beast. The charming young man had returned for Du Xiaofu. Originally, he had not really wanted to let go of Du Xiaofu because of the mysterious group of people. However, just as he was about to attack, the beautiful woman had exceeded his expectations and used a terrifying primordial spirit power. Under the attack of the primordial spirit power, the charming young man was severely injured and chose to retreat. However, the charming young man did not retreat too far. He knew that when the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fisherman would benefit. He also knew that the primordial spirit power could not be maintained for long. Originally, he had also left traces of his aura on Du Xiaofu's body, so it was not difficult to track him down. All of this was because the charming young man recognized the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back. Those were the real golden rock wings. Also, the broadsword in Du Xiaofu's hand was a divine weapon. It was definitely a mid-grade weapon, or even a high-grade weapon. The charming young man stared at Du Xiaofu. How could he give up on the true golden wings of a great rock and that divine weapon? Even if there was a terrifying power behind this young woman, he wouldn't give up so easily. To him, if he could obtain the divine weapon and the golden rock wings, everything would be worth it. This person is very scheming. It's difficult to deal with him. Du Xiaofu frowned. This charming young man was definitely a terrifying person. Not only was his strength terrifying, but his scheming was even more terrifying. Chi. The charming young man made his move. This place was not suitable for him to stay for long. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile as he soared through the air. In the distorted space, there was a majestic pressure that directly enveloped Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. Boom! Du Xiaofu would not allow himself to be captured without putting up a fight. He still had his meridian spirit and the thunder martial vein. He had not reached the point where he could be captured without putting up a fight. A terrifying and overbearing chi spread out as the golden rock wings enveloped him and Dongli Qingqing. It's really the real golden rock wings. It can actually fuse with humans. It seems like I have to study you first. The charming young man's eyes were filled with curiosity. At the same time, a majestic amount of runes burst out and directly crushed Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings. Bang, bang, bang. The golden light collided with each other. In the midst of the sound of the explosion, the surrounding space began to explode. Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings resisted the attack. However, under the impact of the monstrous force, a violent energy that was beyond what he could withstand surged into his body like a tidal wave. In almost an instant, his 5 viscera and 6 bowels suffered a huge impact. The terrifying energy exceeded Du Xiaofu's expectations. At this moment, Du Xiaofu realized that the charming young man's previous attack was only a test. This was his true strength. Puchi. Even with an extremely abnormal defense, it was still unable to withstand the impact of the young man's strength. Du Xiaofu directly spat out blood from his mouth. The golden rock wings had no choice but to be crushed. Dongli Qingqing, who was enveloped by the golden rock wings, had to withstand much less force than Du Xiaofu. However, dark red blood still spilled out of her mouth. At the same time, when Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings spread out, several runes and seals had already landed on the two of them. The two of them were immediately restricted and could no longer move. I've said that your strength is not enough. After the charming young man finished speaking, he grabbed Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. The aura around him distorted the void and his figure immediately flew into the distance. Chapter 1074. In a vast mountain range, a dark purple figure appeared and entered the mountains. In a natural cave, the charming young man put down Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. Then, he formed a seal between his hands and set up a restriction seal at the entrance of the cave. Instantly, the entrance of the cave disappeared. Then, the charming young man turned around and looked at Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, who were under the restriction, and smiled faintly. However, the young man's face was extremely pale at this moment. It seemed that he had been injured by the power of Dongli Qingqing's master's primordial spirit. His injuries were definitely not light. He's also a talisman formation master and cultivates both martial arts and talisman techniques. Although Du Xiaofu was under the restriction, he was a little surprised to see the charming young man who was unaware of the restriction seal just now. From the way the young man's hand formed the restriction seal, Du Xiaofu felt that the charming young man should have done quite a bit of research on talisman formations. It was different from the seals and restrictions set up by ordinary cultivators. What the charming young man had set up outside the cave just now was clearly not a weak concealment talisman formation. It could hide the surroundings. Although he was restricted, Du Xiaofu did not stop thinking. His mind was thinking of all sorts of ways to get out of danger. However, the golden winged rocks technique could not easily undo the restriction. The restriction seal set up by the charming young man was also not something that Du Xiaofu could forcefully break through with his current cultivation level. With his body sealed, Lu Xiaofu thought to himself. He did not expect to end up in the hands of the charming young man this time. Fortunately, it was better than ending up in the hands of the devil religion. However, this was definitely not better for long. What, you want to escape? I'm afraid you can't break through the restriction seal I set up. It's fine if I let you live for a few more days. The charming young man looked at Du Xiaofu as if he could see through Du Xiaofu's thoughts. However, he did not care. He reached out his hand and searched Du Xiaofu's clothes for a while. Then, he took the few qiankuan bags on Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu's heart ached. Those were the many benefits he had plundered along the way. Among them were the blood and bones of many demonic beasts on the heavenly beast ranking. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was so heartbroken that he could not speak. Compared to that, it was more important for him to think of a way to escape. Now. After putting away the qiankuan bags, the charming young man was not in a hurry to open the restriction. After that, he walked over to Dongli Qingqing who was leaning against the stone wall. He raised his hand and gently stroked her beautiful face. In the end, he picked up a strand of hair and lowered his head to sniff it. An evil smile appeared on his handsome face as he said, I didn't expect you to still be a virgin. It won't be long before you become my woman. At that time, I will definitely love you dearly. Dongli Qingqing's voice was also sealed and she could not speak. However, at this moment, a terrifying chill surged in her eyes as she stared at the charming young man. Your temper is quite big. However, after you become my woman, you will become gentler. The charming young man looked at Dongli Qingqing's gaze as if he did not care. His hand reluctantly swept down her beautiful face. After that, with a wave of his purple sleeve, he threw a few pills into his mouth. Then, he sat down cross-legged not far away and began to meditate. The charming young man's injuries were extremely serious. It seemed that he could not delay any longer. The cave was spacious, but the surroundings were damp. In some of the cracks in the rock walls, there was even the sound of water dripping intermittently, echoing in the cave. After a while, the charming young man's body was enveloped by a circle of runes. At this moment, Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing were able to look at each other. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu. Her eyes turned and a flickering green rune began to spread, as if she was trying to express something. Is there a way to break the seal? Seeing the gaze in Dongli Qingqing's eyes, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Dongli Qingqing seemed to be telling him that there was a way to break the seal. Du Xiaofu's eyes turned slightly and he gave Dongli Qingqing a look. He wanted her to think of a way to break the seal. Dongli Qingqing seemed to understand. She then closed her eyes and there was no fluctuation of aura on her body. I must find a way. Du Xiaofu pondered. He could not just sit and wait for death. The mountain pulse spirit could ignore all ordinary seals. However, at this moment, it was restricted and could not activate the pulse spirit. Qi. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu felt a movement in his body. As his desire to break the seal surged out, the thunder martial vein in his body began to move. The mysterious runes fluctuated and wandered in his muscles and limbs. As the thunder martial vein began to react, Du Xiaofu immediately felt that the extremely strong seal on his body began to show signs of wavering. The thunder martial vein spread out and could shake the seal. Du Xiaofu could feel that as long as there was enough time, the thunder martial vein would be able to destroy the seal directly. It would not take too long. Perhaps one day. If he lived for half a day, he would succeed. There's a way. There's always a way. Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised. He immediately used the thunder martial vein to destroy the seal on his body secretly. At this moment, Du Xiaofu knew that the charming young man was making use of the time to recover from his injuries. There should be someone he had to be wary of. To Du Xiaofu, his current situation was much more troublesome. Even if he could destroy the seal on his body in time, he still had to face the charming young man who he could not defeat at all. He also had to be wary of the devil religion. Du Xiaofu did not know how he had provoked the powerful and terrifying charming young man. A large number of experts from the devil religion had also appeared on Tianhuang mainland. Danger lurked everywhere. He was now in a desperate situation. However, at the thought that he had obtained the silver net soul-devouring thunder that the devil religion wanted, he could imagine that the devil religion would be furious this time. This made Du Xiaofu feel that he had obtained interest. Destroy the seal and escape from the current danger first. After laughing bitterly in his heart, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He had to destroy the seal on his body as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the charming young man finished his breathing, he would be in real danger and would not have any more chances. The thunder martial vein covered his body silently. The seal that the charming young man had set up was slowly being undone. Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised that the thunder martial vein had such a function. Du Xiaofu now needed time. As long as he had enough time, he would definitely be able to undo the seal. Du Xiaofu was also worried. If the charming young man took the time to adjust his breathing before he undid the restriction, then he would be in deep trouble. Drip, 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 time passed slowly. Only the sound of water dripping could be heard in the cave. The charming young man was surrounded by a rune halo. His aura fluctuated and was very vigorous. Another day passed and Tianhuang mainland was shrouded in moonlight. Under the faint moonlight, dozens of figures streaked across the night sky and finally landed on a cliff. Du Xiaofu, wait until I capture you. I'll make sure you beg for death, beg for life. Under the night sky, the Yin Thunder old man had blood at the corner of his mouth. Lightning flashed in his eyes and a monstrous coldness spread. The Yin Thunder old man didn't expect that Du Xiaofu would be able to escape in front of him again and that she would be seriously injured. Deputy, the thunder-seeking divine talisman is gone. How do we find Du Xiaofu? A black-clothed old man asked. He was also covered in wounds. However, he knew that if he could not find Du Xiaofu and get the silver-sifting soul-devouring lightning back, he would suffer a miserable fate. Therefore, he had to delay his treatment. Continue to search. They are injured and will not run far. Even if we have to search the entire area, we must find that little bastard. The Yin Thunder Old Man was furious. He regretted that he did not go all out after finding Du Xiaofu. He should have killed him first and let the unforeseen event happen in the end. Therefore, the Yin Thunder Old Man had already decided that as long as he found Du Xiaofu again, he would kill him as soon as possible. There could not be any more accidents. However, the Yin Thunder Old Man still had some lingering fear in his eyes when he thought of the old woman formed by the power of the origin spirit. The old woman's strength was too terrifying. The Yin Thunder Old Man felt that if the old woman wanted to kill him with the power of the origin spirit, he would be like an ant without much resistance. Chi. Time passed slowly. When Du Xiaofu estimated that 12 to 14 hours had passed, the seal on his body was finally completely destroyed by the destruction of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was not happy at all. He did not dare to show any aura fluctuation. Turning his eyes, Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qingqing. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's eyes were still slightly closed. Du Xiaofu guessed that Dongli Qingqing should have some means or secret method to break the seal on her body. However, he was one step ahead with the help of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, Du Xiaofu knew that he could only wait. He had to wait for the best time to escape from the hands of the charming young man. However, now was definitely not the best time. Du Xiaofu waited and stood still. This kind of endurance was naturally not a problem for Du Xiaofu, who could stand in front of the ancient stone tablet for half a month in the stone city. He had already honed his amazing endurance. Hula, finally, the rune halo on the charming young man's body began to converge. It was like a small light beam pouring into his body from the outside, causing the space in the cave to fluctuate. Phew, the charming young man opened his tightly closed eyes. His dewy eyes flashed and he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The charming young man stood up and stretched. Then, he looked at Du Xiaofu. His pale face had taken enough elixirs. After breathing and adjusting his breath, he had become much rosier. His handsome face revealed a kind of genderless beauty, which was enough to make men take a few more glances. At this moment, the motionless Du Xiaofu's heart suddenly trembled. His heart suddenly tensed up. Chapter 1075. Brat, you shouldn't have killed my people. Otherwise, seeing that you dared to provoke anyone and have some guts, I could have spared your life. However, you killed my people, so I have no choice but to kill you. The charming young man looked at Du Xiaofu, his dewy eyes unwavering as he slowly walked closer. Du Xiaofu looked at the charming young man in front of him. He didn't know why, but he felt that this charming young man had a temperament that could easily mesmerize even men. That kind of genderless beauty and shapeless charm was simply natural. However, Du Xiaofu also knew that although this charming young man looked young, he was definitely an old monster. Of course, Du Xiaofu didn't have the time to think about this right now. His mind was tense. This was a matter of life and death. He was like a hunting eagle waiting for the final strike. The charming young man walked closer to Du Xiaofu and smiled slightly, making his genderless beauty seem natural. He said to Du Xiaofu, "You're about to die. This beauty can follow me without worry in the future. I will make her a real woman. I will definitely love her dearly. Come closer, come closer." Du Xiaofu thought in his heart. However, his body didn't move at all. He didn't release any aura, waiting for the best opportunity to strike. This was his last chance. He could only succeed. There would definitely not be a second chance. Alright, let me see what's so special about you that you can merge with the golden rock wings so naturally. The charming young man stood in front of Du Xiaofu. He was curious about the golden rock wings. For a human to merge with the golden rock wings like that was definitely not an easy task. It might even be an impossible task. However, this Du Xiaofu in front of him had done it. This made the charming young man very curious. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura burst out from behind the charming young man. A powerful vitality energy condensed rapidly, and the surrounding space in the cave shook and distorted. A huge space ripple appeared, and it was as if a wave was rolling over and over. In the blink of an eye, a green pillar of light shot out, bringing with it an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate. It gave off a terrifying pressure as it shot towards the charming young man. Eh! The charming young man abruptly turned his head and revealed a look of surprise. A green light beam had already shot over at lightning speed. A blurry figure appeared within the light beam. The figure was curvaceous and exquisite. Her hair fluttered in the wind, bringing with it an absolute pressure. At this moment, the entire cave was trembling under this powerful aura. It shook one's soul, and there was even an aura that made one's soul and body tremble. This aura silently spread throughout the cave, permeating through every nook and cranny. You can actually break through the seal. The charming young man immediately took action to defend himself. A terrifying rune light shot out and appeared to be in a panic. In the end, the rune turned into a light that enveloped the surroundings and defended against the green light pillar. Boom! The collision of energy caused the entire cave to tremble. Cracks spread out from the surrounding rocks. At this moment, if it wasn't for the fact that the charming young man had already set up a seal in the cave, the entire cave would have been razed to the ground. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved at this moment. He raised his head and looked at the beautiful figure within the green light beam. It was Dongli Qingqing. She had also secretly broken through the seal and was enduring. At this moment, a wave of pressure came from Dongli Qingqing's body. It was as if a dam had been opened, causing Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein to be affected. The pressure came from the soul and could cause one's blood to go berserk. However, Dongli Qingqing's sudden attack was still unable to do anything to the charming young man. Under the protection of the rune light screen, it was able to resist the terrifying pressure. Beauty, give up. You are not my opponent. The charming young man calmed down in the midst of the sudden change. He resisted Dongli Qingqing's terrifying energy that could devour vitality and began to counterattack. Dongli Qingqing didn't say anything. Her eyes were sharp. She was surrounded by a light pillar and her hands were constantly forming seals. Silently, a huge wave of vitality spread out. Pfff, suddenly, Dongli Qingqing spat out a mouthful of blood essence. As the rune seals formed, it turned into a rune blood arrow and instantly shot into the space between her eyebrows. Boom! As the blood arrow shot into the space between her eyebrows, Dongli Qingqing's body suddenly trembled. It was as if her body had been absorbed by a surging wave of energy. The wave of vitality that spread out from her delicate body formed a dazzling green rune vortex around Dongli Qingqing's delicate body at an absolutely terrifying speed. The pressure grew stronger and stronger, creating a huge wave in the air. It was as if a wave was rolling over and over. Outside the cave, the restrictive seal that the charming young man had set up also began to loosen. Waves of vitality from the energy of heaven and earth seeped in and poured into the green light pillar. In the end, it connected with Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure. In the next moment, a wave of energy rose from within Dongli Qingqing's graceful body. It rose like a rocket, causing the charming young man's expression to change greatly. She's breaking through to the peak of the martial honor realm. What is this woman's identity? The charming young man, Chao Lu, was shocked. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's terrifying aura was devouring the vitality of all living things. It caused his primordial spirit, the profound energy in his body, and even his blood to boil. He was afraid that if he was slightly weaker, he would not be able to stop himself from prostrating. Under that terrifying pressure, Dongli Qingqing's power was clearly not as strong as the former's. However, under that pressure, the charming young man was unable to resist Dongli Qingqing's breakthrough. That pressure came from heaven and earth, soul, and blood. It was unstoppable. Boom! After a moment, Dongli Qingqing's aura directly stepped into the peak of the martial honor realm. Dongli Qingqing was already at the peak of the Nirvana martial honor realm. Recently, she had obtained many benefits. Everything was already a matter of course. However, Dongli Qingqing's strength and aura were still rising after reaching the peak of the martial venerable realm. The vitality of the heavens and earth in the surroundings seeped into the cave from the cracks of the restrictive seal. Don't tell me she's going to break through again. The charming young man was stunned. After stepping into the peak of the martial honor realm, the beautiful woman's aura was still rising. This was too terrifying. The terrifying pressure of life was still growing stronger. The surging vitality of heaven and earth gathered in the green light pillar around Dongli Qingqing's body. The aura that made one's heart palpitate whistled and the terrifying pressure was endless. Whoosh whoosh. Dong Li's green hair fluttered under the boundless life energy of heaven and earth. Inside the whirlpool of life energy, which was like a storm, her beautiful elf face was red and ferocious. Her eyes shone with a frightening green light. She was like an elf goddess who was in the process of becoming a demonic Shura. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing seemed to be enduring a shocking pain. Her beautiful face became more and more hideous. However, her aura continued to rise. It continued to rise. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's rising aura was like a flying sword. It was like a torrential flood that could not be controlled. The charming young man's gaze changed. At this moment, as the beautiful woman continued to grow stronger, the vitality in his body was unexpectedly being devoured. Along with the power of heaven and earth, it made him panic even when he tried to stop it with all his might. Everything did not last long. The cave finally welcomed the most violent energy storm. With a terrifying force, it surged into Dongli Qingqing's body, causing Dongli Qingqing to raise her head and cry out in pain. Ah! This cry was like a sudden clap of thunder. The sound penetrated the space, pierced through gold and jade, as if it could break open space. A strange and rich life force spread out from his voice. It also contained a kind of pressure that one could not resist. Boom! However, at this moment, another terrifying and powerful aura suddenly surged out from Dongli Qingqing's body. It shook the entire cave, as if it was going to collapse at any time. Crack crack, finally, cracks appeared on the seal outside the cave, but it did not completely collapse. A soul-shaking aura then spread out from Dongli Qingqing's body. It caused people's souls and blood to tremble. Those who were weak would have to crawl, as if they were facing an emperor. Inside the cave, under the majestic life force, the rolling green runes were revolving around Dongli Qingqing. The strange, oppressive aura in her beautiful body was like a dam that had been opened, and the aura was gushing out. What a strong pressure! This pressure is not below that of that clan. Du Xiaofu was also shocked. The aura on Dongli Qingqing's body made Du Xiaofu feel an absolute pressure. That aura was very strange. It was as if it could devour a person's vitality. It came from the heaven and earth, from the bloodline, and from the soul. It was difficult to resist. It made him have the urge to crawl and kneel, his body trembling. Buzz! At this moment, in Du Xiaofu's divine watchtower, the purple lightning profound cauldron suddenly started to rotate. A majestic aura spread out, resisting the vitality. At the same time, the lightning martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body started to fluctuate. It started to spread out from the sky, resisting the terrifying pressure that wanted to make him crawl and kneel. In the cave, within the green light pillar, the boundless vitality of the heaven and earth was absorbed by the beautiful figure. Everything gradually calmed down. Finally, the beautiful figure started to appear clearly. Her beautiful hair draped over her shoulders, and her body was full of vitality. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's eyes were deep and green. She looked at the cave wall in front of her. Wherever her gaze passed, plants started to sprout and take root. They were full of vitality. Chapter 1076. This scene completely stunned the charming young man. Transcendent Martial Honorable. Du Xiaofu was also stunned. At this moment, he could clearly feel that Dongli Qingqing's cultivation aura had already reached the Transcendent Martial Honorable level. Most importantly, Dongli Qingqing's aura had an additional terrifying pressure. That pressure came from the heavens and earth, from her bloodline, and was naturally integrated with her body. At this moment, the lightning martial vein and the purple lightning profound cauldron in his body were resisting the pressure. This also caused Du Xiaofu to be shocked to feel that the profound qi in his body actually showed signs of stopping. A kind of involuntary reverence also spread out from the depths of his yuan spirit. It was reverence for a king. In the cave, Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure floated. At this moment, her entire body was emitting a kind of natural noble aura. Her beautiful face was like that of a fairy, and she was like an otherworldly fairy. So what if you are at the peak of the Nirvana realm? Dongli Qingqing moved. Her noble aura started to become fierce, and a green light shot out from the depths of her eyes. An extremely tyrannical pressure instantly spread out from her body. Immediately, the profound qi in her body, accompanied by the terrifying life force, poured out like a flood. Boom! A dazzling green light appeared. Everything happened in a flash. Dongli Qingqing's green hand slapped out, and suddenly, it fiercely suppressed the charming young man. Where did this woman come from? Feeling that terrifying aura, the charming young man's face instantly revealed an expression of absolute shock. Under that terrifying pressure, the charming young man's strength was definitely greatly affected. However, at the same time, his hands moved, and afterimages of hand seals appeared. As the charming young man formed a seal with his hands, the space in the cave froze. A monstrous aura spread out from his purplish-red robes as he collided with a palm print. All of a sudden, the two palms violently collided with each other. Boom! Monstrous runes collapsed in the cave. At the level where the two palm seals collided, a dazzling rune radiance shot out. Dang dang! Dongli Qingqing's delicate body was directly pushed back. Even though she had already stepped into the Transcendent Martial Honorable level, she was still at a disadvantage. However, under the pressure of the terrifying life force, Dongli Qingqing was able to suppress the charming young man quite a bit. She was no longer as helpless as before when facing the charming young man. Dang! The charming young man at this moment, he could no longer remain calm. And Dongli Qingqing's cloud. The young lady's ice jade, the beautiful woman, had just stepped into the Transcendent Martial Honorable level, and her aura was not stable. However, the power that accompanied the life force pressure made the charming young man feel that it was enough to contend against a peak Transcendent Martial Honorable. She might even be able to contend against an ordinary chaotic element Martial Honorable. At this moment, the charming young man's strength was greatly affected by the life force pressure. His body had been severely injured by Dongli Qingqing's master's primordial spirit. After a period of meditation, there were not many problems. However, he definitely had not fully recovered. Thus, the strength that the charming young man was able to unleash was simply unable to reach his peak. At this moment, Du Xiaofu, who had not moved at all, suddenly had a golden light in his eyes. The opportunity had come. After enduring for so long, Du Xiaofu had finally waited for the right opportunity. Previously, Du Xiaofu had not made a move because the charming young man was meditating. To a cultivator, that was the most sensitive time. Once he made any movements, he would not be able to escape the control of a peak Nirvana Martial Honorable. At this moment, just as the charming young man was forced to take a step back, Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly emitted a golden light. An incomparably tyrannical aura abruptly spread out from his tall and straight body. Roar! The cave trembled and cracked. Du Xiaofu suddenly condensed a fist in his hand. A dragon's roar filled the sky and a divine elephant trumpeted. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, he directly threw a punch at the charming young man. Rumble, the punch swept out with an overbearing and disdainful aura and instantly arrived behind the charming young man. This was Du Xiaofu's overbearing fist way. You actually broke through the seal too. The charming young man had just stabilized his body and turned around in a panic. An energy rune swept out and collided with him. Bang! The two collided and energy exploded. Du Xiaofu had underestimated the charming young man. The charming young man was a peak Nirvana martial honorable. Even if he was heavily injured and in a panic, he was still a genuine Nirvana martial honorable. Bang, bang, bang. A huge force swept out and caused Du Xiaofu's body to be fiercely thrown into the cave wall. The hard cave wall instantly exploded and cracks spread out. Swish, swish, swish. However, at the same time, a life force pressure enveloped the cave. Terrifying energy turned into rune ripples and swept out like a tsunami. 3 energy arrows swept across the sky and landed on the charming young man's head. They devoured his life force and destroyed his defense. The charming young man's body exploded with runes and destroyed the first and second energy arrows. When the third energy arrow was destroyed in a panic, a monstrous energy instantly erupted in the cave. Waves of extremely terrifying energy storms instantly swept out in all directions. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The terrifying energy shook the cave and the cracks spread out once again. Huge rocks fell and the entire cave seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Humph! After blocking the third energy arrow, the charming young man finally let out a muffled sound from his throat. The life force pressure and his heavy injuries had yet to recover. Dongli Qingqing's 3 arrows had caused the charming young man's Xian Qi to become chaotic. A sweet taste surged up his throat and a stream of red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Qi! Du Xiaofu appeared again. When he appeared beside the charming young man, a special rune light appeared in his eyes. This rune light seemed to have many similarities with the mysterious soul eyes. They came from the same source and came from the same source. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was activating the Sumeru illusory realm. It was one of his brother Zhen Qingchuan's trump cards. It was also the upgraded version of the mysterious soul eyes. However, compared to the mysterious soul eyes, it was many times more powerful. It could make people unknowingly fall into an illusory realm. You're not strong enough to use an illusory realm in front of me. The charming young man's face darkened. Then, a dazzling rune spread out in his eyes. It was as if he was channeling the power of heaven and earth. An invisible aura directly hit Du Xiaofu's Sumeru illusory realm. The dazzling rune spread out. In a short stalemate, it pushed back Du Xiaofu's Sumeru illusory realm and then destroyed it. A semi-region spiritual talisman master. His talisman Dao is stronger than his martial Dao. He is also an expert in illusory realms. At this moment, Du Xiaofu finally knew that the charming young man who cultivated both martial Dao and talisman Dao was the strongest in both talisman Dao and illusory realms. Then, Du Xiaofu's dazzling rune eyes began to become dull. It was as if he had involuntarily fallen into some kind of illusory realm. Qi! At the same time, Dongli Qingqing's eyes rippled. She saw that Du Xiaofu had also broken through the restriction and attacked again. Her delicate body once again pounced on the charming young man. Dongli Qingqing knew that she only had one chance. Otherwise, she would be in a desperate situation. She had to give it her all, regardless of the consequences. You made me use my real strength. You really shocked me. The charming young man felt Dongli Qingqing's attack, but he did not turn back. He slightly raised his eyes. Runes spread out in his dewy eyes. They soared into the sky and filled the entire cave. Dongli Qingqing's figure swept over, but the charming young man had already disappeared silently. A strange rune light spread out and swept into Dongli Qingqing's eyes. Not good. Dongli Qingqing's heart sank. A green light tried to resist the strange rune light. The two were in a deadlock. Then, Dongli Qingqing sat down cross-legged. A layer of green rune light enveloped her body as if it could protect her. Rumble, Du Xiaofu appeared in a vast mountain range with a dull look in his eyes. In front of him, there was an intense muffled sound of energy. The sound waves were earth-shattering, and bright runes soared into the sky. Countless experts were besieging a middle-aged man with a heroic aura. Kill! The heroic middle-aged man was dripping with blood. His hair was messy. One man could hold back 10,000 men. He was fighting in all directions. How domineering! Father! Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled. The thing he was most worried about had happened. The heroic middle-aged man was his drunkard father whom he had been searching for. At this moment, he was being besieged by countless experts. Xiaofu, you're here. Du Tingxian killed in all directions. He retreated as he fought. Then, he came to Du Xiaofu's side. His body was dripping with blood, but there was a smile in his eyes. It's fake. This is an illusion. At this moment, in Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, a silver arc of lightning suddenly spread out from the illusory primordial spirit body in his mind. Almost at the same time, a talisman appeared in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. His spirit root appeared, and Du Xiaofu's mind immediately became clear. Break for me! Du Xiaofu shouted. A stream of energy suddenly fell on the body of Du Tingxian in front of him, destroying his body. The illusion in front of him also began to fade. Pfft! At this moment, the charming young man who had just disappeared reappeared in the cave. His face had turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. How can a primordial spirit be so strong? Chapter 1077. The charming young man was shocked. Then, the strange runes in his eyes became even more dazzling and enveloped Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu, who was just about to escape from the illusion, saw the illusion disappear. However, he immediately appeared in a familiar place. It was the current palace of the desolate country. Hee. In the main hall of the palace, laughter could be heard. Several beautiful ladies walked over. They were Dongli Qingqing, Ouyang Shuang, Sima Muhan, and Du Xiaofu. Even Qi Yeshi and Zhu Shui were among them. Xiaofu, are you back? The 5 ladies chased after Du Xiaofu and surrounded Du Xiaofu. All of them had seductive expressions and gently caressed Du Xiaofu's body. Every single one of them was extremely seductive and stirred up one's soul. Illusion, this is an illusion. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit was filled with silver electric arcs. His spiritual root appeared and resisted the illusion. He was unmoved and knew that it was just an illusion. However, Du Xiaofu knew about illusion formations. He knew that if he was careless and fell into this illusion, he would be doomed eternally. How can an 8-star Permitha spiritual talisman master block my illusion? Could it be that he has a spiritual treasure on him? This lad has too many secrets. The charming young man's heart trembled as blood flowed out from his mouth. He then gritted his teeth and a white ray of light shot into Du Xiaofu's forehead. Qi La. In an instant, a majestic primordial spirit energy rushed into Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace in his mind. This primordial spirit energy was huge and vigorous and rushed into Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace in his mind. Rumble. Almost at the same time, as the primordial spirit of the charming young man swept into Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace, silver lightning flashed in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. His spiritual root also erupted at the same time, turning into a talisman light net and directly enveloping the primordial spirit of the charming young man. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit released a silver arc of lightning. That was the silver sieve soul devouring lightning. It suppressed the primordial spirit directly and began to devour the charming young man's primordial spirit. This is bad. He has the spiritual thunder and the spiritual root to protect his soul. How many trump cards does Du Xiaofu have? The power of the primordial spirit was being devoured. The power of the primordial spirit was connected to the primordial spirit of the main body. This was the first time the charming young man's eyes had turned from shock to fear. The spiritual root's pressure was too terrifying. The silver lightning was also directly suppressing the primordial spirit. Silvernet soul-devouring lightning. Could it be the silvernet soul-devouring lightning? The charming young man trembled in fear. The mysterious group of people who came yesterday seemed to have mentioned the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. It was a terrifying spiritual thunder. It was said that the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning could suppress and devour primordial spirits. It was the nemesis of primordial spirits. It was very similar to the lightning aura in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. It seemed that Du Xiaofu had the terrifying silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. This is bad. We are in trouble. The charming young man was shocked. He no longer held back and activated the spiritual root in his body. The talisman light was densely covered and a surge of spiritual root aura that was definitely at the level of a human supremacy erupted. He wanted to free the primordial spirit from Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. Boom! In Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace, the spiritual root felt the spiritual root aura that was released by the former. A terrifying pressure was released as if a supreme being was releasing it. It directly suppressed the spiritual root aura of the former. How can there be such a strong spiritual root aura? It has exceeded the level of a human supremacy. The charming young man spat out another mouthful of blood. However, he had no choice but to continue trying his best to free himself. The primordial spirit of the charming young man was not separated. It was connected to his own primordial spirit. If there was a problem with his primordial spirit, the consequences would be unimaginable. The charming young man probably never expected that so many unforeseen events would occur in front of these two young men and women who were clearly only at the nirvana-revered realm. At this moment, he had even fallen into a dangerous situation. In Du Xiaofu's mind, the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning and the spiritual root released a terrifying aura at the same time. It suppressed the primordial spirit of the charming young man and slowly devoured it. The former was unable to free himself. However, the charming young man's cultivation was at the level of a half-domain. It was definitely not something that Du Xiaofu could do anything about. The primordial spirit of a half-domain cultivator was not something that Du Xiaofu could devour as he wished with his current cultivation. If Du Xiaofu had obtained the complete silver sieve soul-devouring lightning back then, he might have had a chance to devour the primordial spirit of the charming young man. However, Du Xiaofu had only obtained the soul seed of the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. Most of the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning's energy had been devoured by the purple lightning profound cauldron. In the cave, the final confrontation had already reached the stage of a confrontation between primordial spirits. Du Xiaofu and the charming young man were in a deadlock. Both of them were starting to find it more and more strenuous. After an unknown period of time, Du Xiaofu's gaze turned sluggish. The charming young man was unable to free himself from this deadlock. However, it caused Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit to fluctuate. He was gradually losing control of the original illusion. The illusion felt more and more real. In the illusion, Ouyang Shuang, Zhu Shui, Qi Yishi, and the other extremely beautiful faces kept appearing before Du Xiaofu. The 5 women started to undress. They were extremely flirtatious and charming. Their alluring bodies appeared before Du Xiaofu's eyes like white jade. Du Xiaofu was finally completely immersed. As a hot-blooded young man, it was difficult for him to resist this illusion. He appeared in the room and started to walk towards the 5 charming women. In the cave, the charming young man's dewy eyes started to blur. He saw Du Xiaofu walking towards him with bloodshot eyes. "No, brat! Wake up!" the charming young man shouted. He tried his best to maintain his last bit of consciousness. He knew that Du Xiaofu had already fallen into the illusion he had set up. This was the method of the Hehuan school. It was a terrifying illusion technique. It involved the love between a man and a woman. It was difficult for people to escape from it. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was deeply immersed. The charming young man was very clear about the consequences. He was also affected. His primordial spirit was being forcefully devoured by the silver net soul devouring lightning. Although it hadn't devoured much, it was still connected to Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Thus, when Du Xiaofu fell into the illusion, the charming young man couldn't escape either. He began to suffer from qi deviation and was about to fall into the illusion as well. Du Xiaofu approached the charming young man. His eyes became more and more blurry. Damn it, don't, pfff, the charming young man spat out blood once more. His voice became softer and softer. In the end, his eyes became completely blurry. In the end, the charming young man involuntarily began to walk towards the purple-robed young man. His hair fell behind his back, making his face, which was difficult to distinguish his gender, even more charming. The charming young man's Adam's apple slowly disappeared. His purple satin robe slowly slid down, revealing a close-fitting dress. It was a graceful and exquisite body. This charming young man wasn't a man at all. He was clearly a woman. A beautiful woman disguised as a man. Her hair fell behind her back. The woman's beautiful face was comparable to Dongli Qingqing and Qi Yi Shi. Her eyes were blurry and her seductive appearance was enough to seduce all living things. I want you. Du Xiaofu tightly hugged the woman in front of him. His eyes were red and his body was burning. He lowered his head and kissed her. Don't. Want, the woman's breath was weak. It seemed that there was still a trace of clarity left. However, it was useless. She could feel that the purple-robed young man's lips had already landed on her blood-stained lips. Then, he began to greedily suck. He began to invade and plunder her red lips that no one had ever touched before. He was sucking the saliva in her mouth. She wanted to stop him, but she couldn't help but sink deeper into the dense masculine aura. Then, she began to respond awkwardly. Her body began to heat up. Her enchanting cheeks quietly turned red, the two of them were originally in a stalemate. Now, as the two of them sank deeper, the stalemate had quietly subsided. At this moment, the two of them were trapped in an illusory array. Within the array, there were 7 emotions and 6 desires. There was love between a man and a woman, as well as the pleasure of intimacy. The two of them couldn't escape. A moment later, the woman's exquisite curves and jade-white body appeared before Du Xiaofu. Every inch of her gave off a seductive aura. Du Xiaofu's eyes were red. He took off his clothes. There was no gentleness. There was only the most direct of violence. Ah, a delicate voice rang out. The pain of having a melon broken caused her body to tremble. Dark red blood seeped out. She couldn't help but cry out in pain. The woman tightly grabbed the sturdy back that was pressing down on her body. She clawed out a bloody wound. Although she was the head of the Hehuan school, no one knew that she was actually a woman. Her body was even more so a virgin. In an instant, a subtle fragrance floated in the cave. It overturned the rivers and seas. The spring scenery was enchanting and gentle. Xiaofu, suddenly, Dongli Qingqing, who was originally sitting cross-legged, had unknowingly stood up. Looking at the charming scene in front of her, her cheeks were flushed. The depths of her eyes were misty and moist. Qingqing, Du Xiaofu stood up and looked at the fairy-like woman. He pulled down one hand and immediately pressed down on the moving and soft body. Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing cried out. She hugged the hot and masculine body. Her eyes were misty. Her entire body was hot and dry. It was as if there was a fire burning fiercely in her body. Du Xiaofu's passion was burning. Once again, a naked body appeared in the cave. It was hot and firm. He pushed in. Ah! Dongli Qingqing trembled and tore open the jade door. The pain of the first crack made her bite the shoulder of the young man pressing down on her. Her body convulsed in an instant and stiffened. However, this pain made Dongli Qingqing not avoid it. She hugged even tighter. Xiaofu, the woman joined in again. Her eyes were still misty. Her originally charming and beautiful face was now even more charming. There was a kind of seductiveness that seeped into the bones. Du Xiaofu turned around and hugged the woman with one hand. He pressed the two beauties under his body. There was no pity. There was only violent directness. It was the most primitive directness. The two women hugged each other and shook their heads. They were sweating profusely. Their hair was wet and they were panting. Waves surged over, making their bodies go limp. After an unknown period of time, the three of them fainted in the surging waves at the same time. The scene in the cave was covered by the seal that was still there although it was cracked. No one was fated to see such a beautiful scene. On Tianhuang mainland, all the people were approaching Thunder Rolling Mountain. There was a sea of people around Thunder Rolling Mountain. Look, Du Tingxian is nearby. Du Tingxian has something related to the Divine Thunder residence. Whoever gets it will have the advantage and become an unparalleled expert above Kyushu. Everyone around Thunder Rolling Mountain was searching for Du Tingxian. They were digging 3 feet into the ground to find him. Chapter 1078. However, Du Tingxian had been discovered near Thunder Rolling Mountain not long ago and had engaged in an intense battle. Du Tingxian had fought in all directions, killing many experts in a row. After that, he had suffered heavy injuries and left, never to appear again. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Rumble, thunder rumbled and lightning flashed around Thunder Rolling Mountain from time to time. Thunder rumbled through the sky and an ancient aura spread throughout the land. This made everyone believe that the Divine Thunder Manor was about to appear. All the forces of Kyushu and the Beast region had gathered around Thunder Rolling Mountain. There was a sea of people. All the super experts and experts of the older generation were apprehensive and didn't dare to make a move. Once those super experts made a move, it might be out of control in the end, causing a great battle that could move mountains and overturn seas. It was enough to raze everything to the ground. However, these super experts were all waiting. Once the Divine Thunder Manor appeared, they would have a chance to obtain it. At that time, they wouldn't have any misgivings about the consequences. The rumored inheritance of the Divine Thunder Manor was more important than anything else. It was an irresistible temptation, and they couldn't refuse it either. The experts of the older generation and super experts were apprehensive and didn't make a move. However, some of the younger generation of the sects took advantage of this opportunity to rise up and make a name for themselves. The 13 godly heroes were among the best of the best. The 13 godly heroes was a title given to the younger generation by the people of Tianhuang mainland. They were the absolute peak existences of the younger generation in Kyushu and the Beast region. Look, that's Mu Jianchen of Shangzhou's Seiman Sword sect. It's said that he's a terrifying young man. He killed a primordial bloodline beast with a single sword strike. The one on the left is Bailey Wuya of the Golden Spear sect. His golden spear can pierce through the void. Lian Wushang of the Sacred Flame sect of the Lan Zhou is also here. It's said that he has a natural flame that can burn everything. Those are the strongest existences of the younger generation. If only I had their talent. The Divine Thunder Manor seems to be about to appear. Lei Prefecture's Heavenly Thunder Fortresses Muqinga, Wan Prefecture's 100 Flowers Gates Hua Zimo, Yu Prefecture's Snow Wind Cities Feng Wuxia, Cloud Prefecture's Heavenly Music sects Yuzheng Tongxian, and Central Prefecture's Great Luan sects Dongli Qihuang. Those extraordinary individuals should be about to appear. Don't forget, there's still Su Mayan from Misty Clouds, Qin Devil Shengguan Qixuan, and most importantly, there's still the 9th Prince of the Dragons, Dragon 9, and Huang Linger from the Phoenix clan. Demon King, Du Xiaofu, have you forgotten? It's said that the Demon King killed a yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger roar. It seems that he hasn't shown himself for a long time. Could it be that he's afraid of the beast race's revenge? Around Thunder Rolling Mountain, countless youths, and even middle-aged and elderly people looked at the extraordinary young men and women. They secretly discussed with envy. During this period of time, the 13 extraordinary heroes had made a name for themselves in the entire Tianhuang mainland. Their extraordinary martial prowess, unparalleled talents, and they looked down on everyone else. Their names had already spread throughout the Kyushu continent. In the messy cave, the storm had already subsided. Suddenly, a low moan came from the woman's throat. Then, she opened her eyes and saw a determined face facing her. It was a bright and clean young man. His masculine body was half on top of her, and half on top of another woman. They were sound asleep. His hand was still on the forbidden area in front of her chest, and his foot was on top of her. The faint pain in her lower body, coupled with the scene in front of her, immediately reminded her of the passionate scenes. Shameless beast. The woman immediately stood up as if she had been electrocuted. Only then did she realize that she was extremely weak. There were dark red spots on her lower body that brought some pain, as if her legs were about to be torn apart. Hurriedly putting on her clothes, the woman's mind was in a mess. How could she have thought that the final outcome would be like this? She actually did that with him. He must die. The woman was stunned for a moment. Tears fell from her dewy eyes, and then murderous intent surged out. Weak Xian Qi surged, and the woman condensed a palm print on top of Du Xiaofu's head. As long as the palm print fell, she would be able to get rid of the man who had taken her virginity. From then on, she would pretend that nothing had happened. Qi. The palm print fell, but it suddenly stopped in front of Du Xiaofu's forehead. The man lying on the ground, in a daze, hugged her leg with one hand and leaned her leg against his chest. Then, he fell into a deep sleep. He slept very peacefully, and there was even a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. The woman's palm print could not fall. Looking at the resolute and determined face in front of her, she seriously sized him up for the first time. Only then did she realize that although this face could not be considered particularly handsome, it was resolute and resolute. However, that kind of determination and resoluteness was able to move a woman's heart the most. At this moment, she was quietly watching. For some unknown reason, a different kind of fluctuation rose in her heart. Thinking of this man's incomparably domineering and disdainful aura, and the fact that he could rely on that green-clothed woman in life and death, and looking at the smiling face that was sleeping soundly and hugging her leg, the woman's palm print swayed a few times before stopping. She was hesitating, and her eyes kept flickering. Why can't I do it? He's just a brat who's still wet behind the ears, the woman murmured softly. There were traces of tears in her eyes. She had cultivated for more than 30 years. She was extremely talented and had obtained an unparalleled opportunity. 10 years ago, she became the sect master of the Hehuan school. She disguised herself as a man and took charge of the entire Hehuan school. Her name shook the entire Shang province. Even the Kyushu region had her illustrious name. However, other than her master, no one knew that she was a woman disguised as a man. Outsiders thought that she was the sect master of the Hehuan school and had countless women around her. Who knew that she was just a pure girl? And now, her purity had been taken by that purple-robed young man. At this moment, a soft sound of acknowledgement came from Dongli Qingqing's throat. It seemed that she was about to wake up. Looking at the young man and woman in front of her, the woman's eyes trembled. She wanted to strike her palm print again, but she still could not do it. This is an ill-fated relationship. I shouldn't have come to the Tianhuang mainland. I'll return everything that belongs to you. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. If we meet again, I won't hold back. Murmuring softly, the woman withdrew her palm print and threw down the qiankuan bags that she had found on Du Xiaofu's body. She gently lifted her leg out of the man's embrace. Taking one last look at that resolute and determined face, she instantly left the cave. In the messy cave, there were piles of rubble all around. The woman had already opened the seal outside the cave and light shone in. Finally, Dongli Qingqing's eyelashes trembled slightly and she woke up. Opening her eyes, Dongli Qingqing was dazed for a moment. Then, the first thing that entered her vision was that clean man. His foot was pressing down heavily on her leg. What happened? Dongli Qingqing's gaze changed in shock. Then, she realized that she was clean as well. The pain and faint bloodstains on her lower body, as well as the scene in front of her, allowed her to immediately understand what had happened in her blurry mind. Memories flashed through her mind. Dongli Qingqing's face was both shy and shocked. For a moment, she did not know what to do. So, he's also a woman. Dongli Qingqing also recalled that the charming young man was also a woman. However, she was nowhere to be found now. She could not bring herself to talk about the scene between the three of them last night. Immediately putting on her clothes, Dongli Qingqing was a little dazed and a little helpless. After a moment, Dongli Qingqing looked at the man in the cave who had yet to wake up. Her flushed face revealed a bitter smile. Gently, she covered his masculine body with the purple robe on the ground that made her blush shyly. Gently, she stroked the smiling face that was in deep sleep. He was sleeping so peacefully that it made her heart ache. At the same time, she also felt tranquil. Master is here. Suddenly, a faint green light flashed in Dongli Qingqing's eyes. Her expression changed slightly. Looking at the man who was sleeping soundly, she quietly flew out of the cave. It was noon outside the cave and the peaks were clustered together. Chapter 1079. Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure flew up the mountain peak and looked ahead. A figure slowly descended. Her back was slightly hunched and her hair was combed into a high bun. Her temples were white. Greetings, Master. Dongli Qingqing bowed. The person who had come was her master. Her master had descended in her true form. Are you with that brat again? The old woman's sharp voice rang out. If someone unfamiliar with her heard it, they would feel uncomfortable and ear-piercing. When I came to Tianhuang mainland, there were some problems with the wormholes left behind by the clan. If he hadn't helped me, I'm afraid I would have had to use the power of the primordial spirit that you left behind. Dongli Qingqing lowered her head and said. She didn't dare to look at the old woman directly. The people from the devil religion must have taken action for that brat. You used the power of my primordial spirit for that brat. The devil religion hasn't given up. They have been restless. That's not something you should do. You shouldn't be with that brat. You should know that you have important things to do now. You have responsibilities on your shoulders. Suddenly, the old woman looked at Dongli Qingqing. She seemed to have sensed something. Her sharp gaze trembled with shock and surprise. She said, "You've broken through to Transcendent Martial Saint and have the aura of your bloodline. Have you completely awakened your bloodline?" Dongli Qingqing nodded. Her face also revealed joy. She said softly, "I didn't expect that after falling into a crisis, I would be able to awaken my bloodline. I even took the opportunity to break through to Transcendent Martial Saint." Bloodline. That's the effect of your bloodline. It seems that the thing left behind by the clan has already been effective. The bloodline in your body now is comparable to a sovereign martial vein. The old woman was happy. Her gaze trembled slightly. She said to Dongli Qingqing, "Come back with me immediately. You've just broken through to Transcendent and need to stabilize your cultivation and bloodline. You'll have a chance to take revenge for that blood feud." "Master, are we leaving now? We still haven't found the disciples of the Divine Thunder Manor." Dongli Qingqing raised her head in surprise. She couldn't help but look at the cave not far behind her. "I had you come to Tianhuang mainland with the intention of giving you the chance to obtain Jinlei Tensei's inheritance and help you awaken your bloodline. Now, you've already awakened your bloodline, your clan's ancestors' cultivation was the strongest in this world. He's no weaker than Jinglei Tenny, so. That use Jinglei Tenny. Jinglei Tenny. So, there's no, there. Jinglei Tenny, God, you is. You use Muses Nenan. Master Ancestor you. Ancestor S inheritance. 10. So. Is. You. Is use. Is there, master, but. Dongli Qingqing hesitated. Right now, she was about to leave. She was a bit reluctant. A flash of emotion appeared in her glassy eyes. It was hard to fathom. Could it be that you want me to kill that brat? It seems he's really affected you. You have no choice but to kill him. The old woman's gaze suddenly turned sharp. A cold light flashed through her eyes. No, master. I'll go back with you. Dongli Qingqing gazed at the cave behind her. She lowered her eyes. A light flashed through her eyes. Then, it disappeared. She thought back to the passionate scenes of the three of them. Although she'd been affected by the illusion and couldn't control herself, she'd still been so passionate. Thinking back to it, her cheeks flushed. How could I do something like that? Dongli Qingqing muttered to herself. I don't know how I'll face you when the time comes. I have a blood feud. I can't drag you down. If our feelings for each other last, we'll meet again. Qing, let's go, said the old woman. Her expression and aura made it impossible to refuse. I'll leave first. Take care of yourself. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Dongli Qingqing nodded. She turned back to look at the cave behind her. She formed a hand seal. A stream of light flashed into the cave. Then, she left with the old woman. After a few flashes, she disappeared into thin air. Bang! A low muffled sound resounded in the cave. Then, Dongli Qingqing's voice faintly echoed in the cave. I'll leave first. Take care of yourself. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Du Xiaofu finally woke up. Ever since he'd been able to cultivate, he'd changed his sleep to meditation. Du Xiaofu didn't know how long it had been since he'd slept so soundly. When he opened his eyes, Du Xiaofu felt a little dizzy. He suddenly remembered that he was still in danger. He sat up abruptly. Fuck, what happened? Where are my clothes? It seems, soon after, Du Xiaofu's moaning voice was heard from within the cave. Du Xiaofu suddenly sat up, only to discover that he was completely naked at this moment. A few qiankuan bags that originally belonged to him were scattered all over his body. The charming young man and Dongli Qingqing beside him had already disappeared. Then, Du Xiaofu recalled the scene in the illusion array. The charming young man seemed to be a woman. Then, there was that erotic scene. It seemed like there were three people. Was the illusion real or not? Du Xiaofu was stunned. He couldn't remember. If it was real, then it was impossible. He and the charming young man. Could it be that he and a man, Pei? Du Xiaofu almost vomited. If it was an illusion, how could he be naked? It felt so real. What's going on? What happened? Du Xiaofu couldn't remember. He couldn't tell if it was an illusion or reality. Dongli Qingqing and the charming young man both disappeared. What happened in between? The voice he just heard should be Dongli Qingqing's. Feeling the purple lightning profound cauldron, golden rock wings, purple gold heavenly palace, and ancient desolate space in his body, Du Xiaofu hurriedly put on his clothes. He put on his purple robe and rushed out of the cave. He didn't see Dongli Qingqing and the charming young man outside. That feeling was too wonderful for words. Did I really do something? Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He recalled that wonderful feeling. It was so real. I wonder how Little Blue, Little Tiger, Scarlet Rock, and the others are doing. Du Xiaofu was worried. At this moment, his body was weak and his injuries were quite serious. He needed to adjust his breathing to recover. However, he was also worried about Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Scarlet Rock, Blue Fantasy, and Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaofu judged that the charming young man should be far away. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Du Xiaofu found a new cave not far from the cave and set up a seal. He planned to use his breathing exercises to recuperate and heal his injuries. I seem to have forgotten something. Inside the cave, Du Xiaofu's brows suddenly twitched. A stream of light flew out from his forehead and the ancient desolate space appeared. His figure flew into the ancient desolate space. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in the misty space. At this moment, there was a young man in luxurious clothes who had been restricted in the ancient desolate space. It was the heaven wasteland star swallowing python that Du Xiaofu had thrown into the ancient desolate space back then. The time in the ancient desolate space was 10 times faster. At this moment, the heaven wasteland star swallowing python had been restricted for several months. When it saw Du Xiaofu arrive, its gaze immediately trembled. Facing the ferocious purple-robed young man, who was even more ferocious than a ferocious beast, the heaven wasteland star swallowing python was instinctively afraid. Do you want to trap me and make me submit? If you want to kill me, then kill me. I will definitely not become your slave. The heaven wasteland star swallowing python opened its mouth. Although it was afraid, as a heaven wasteland star swallowing python, it had its own pride. It would not submit to a human. However, Du Xiaofu only glanced at the heaven wasteland star swallowing python. Suddenly, he waved his hand. At the same time, a purple gold lightning arc flew out from his palm. The purple gold light turned into a three-legged cauldron. Under a domineering aura of destruction, the restriction on the heaven wasteland star swallowing python was undone. Soon after, it appeared in an illusory space. Rumble. Within the illusory space, purple gold lightning arcs flew in all directions. Purple thunderclouds gathered in the sky. Just as the heaven wasteland star swallowing python recovered, there were purple gold lightning bolts wildly descending from the purple thunderclouds in the sky. It was impossible for it to escape. Soon after, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged within the ancient desolate space. He took out quite a number of elixirs and pills and stuffed them into his mouth. Finally, he closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's body was enveloped in a dazzling golden light. A domineering and intimidating aura slowly spread out. Chapter 1080. After consuming the elixir and circulating the golden winged rock technique, Du Xiaofu's profound qi was recovering and the injuries on his body were also slowly healing. However, Du Xiaofu was also in a sorry state as he escaped from death once again. This time, his injuries were extremely serious and it would take a lot of time for him to fully recover. Even if Du Xiaofu had the golden winged rock technique, it would be difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. Fortunately, there was plenty of time in the ancient desolate space. There was no time for cultivation and a month had passed in the ancient desolate space. Phew! The golden light around Du Xiaogang retracted and then disappeared into his body. He spat out a mouthful of turbid air and opened his eyes. The purple gold light in his eyes surged endlessly. I've finally recovered. Du Xiaofu stood up and felt that everything in his body had recovered to its peak state. The numerous injuries on his body had already healed and his body was still crystal clear, emitting a faintly discernible purple gold light. Clenching his fist slightly, the space around his palms slightly distorted. The powerful feeling made Du Xiaofu's eyes glow. It should be about time. Du Xiaofu's purple robe shook and a figure in luxurious clothes flew out from the purple lightning profound cauldron that was floating in front of him. It was the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python that had been in the purple lightning profound cauldron for a month. At this moment, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's clothes were a little shabby, but his eyes were suffused with a faint purple gold light. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's peak profound beast sovereign aura had now reached the nirvana beast sovereign level. That formless aura was even more vigorous and surging. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python had obtained the divine lightning body refinement in the purple lightning profound cauldron. That was a huge benefit, and it had naturally allowed him to break through to the nirvana beast sovereign level. Looking at Du Xiaofu, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's eyes were filled with doubt and surprise. He naturally knew what benefits he had obtained. His bloodline was strengthening and his physical body had become incomparably strong. All of that was caused by the strange and overbearing purple lightning. Why are you giving me such benefits? The heaven wasteland star-devouring python could not help but ask Du Xiaofu. He really could not understand why the savage human would give him such a huge benefit. If he had known about this opportunity beforehand, he would have been willing to pay any price to obtain it. Of course, the heaven wasteland star-devouring python would still hesitate if it had to become a servant of a human. The pride contained in the bloodline of the heaven wasteland star-devouring python was not something that ordinary beasts could compare with. Even when facing Dragon 9, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python had never submitted from the bottom of its heart. The bloodline of the Paramitha beast has also strengthened. Du Xiaofu looked at the heaven wasteland star-devouring python with a satisfied look in his eyes. Then, his expression became fierce and intimidating as he said in a deep voice, "Right now, there are only two paths in front of you. You should know best what kind of benefits you have obtained. First, I will kill you without any hesitation. Your essence, blood and flesh will become the nourishment for me to strengthen myself, and your mysterious bones will become the treasure I leave behind for my fellow disciples. Second, follow me. It doesn't matter whether you become my servant or not. I admire your pride and can make you one of the commanders of my heavenly beast hall." The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python looked at Du Xiaofu with trembling eyes. He knew that although the purple-robed young man before him looked calm and kind, he was the true demon king. He was not a soft-hearted person. He also knew what benefits he had obtained this time and that the other party was not lying to him. "I can't submit to a human." The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python clenched his teeth. The breakthrough this time had given him some confidence. However, when he thought of the fate of the heaven-shaking yellow-striped tiger, he regretted his words. "I can give you a chance. As long as you can defeat me, I will let you go. If you lose, you only have two choices. This is my respect for your pride," Du Xiaofu said. The pride of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python made Du Xiaofu admire it. That was why he gave it a chance. Otherwise, he would have killed it long ago. "All right, let's decide this with a battle." Having no other choice, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python nodded. A sliver of purple gold lightning spread in the depths of its sharp eyes. Suddenly, the runes on its body surged, turning into a huge seven-colored python that occupied the misty void. It was the true form of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python. Rumble, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python was like a huge dragon that occupied the void. Its entire body was rippling with nebulae. Its huge and ferocious mouth looked like it could swallow the stars. It was a terrifying demonic beast that possessed an ancient bloodline and was extremely rare. It was rumored that when the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python cultivated to the extreme, it could swallow the stars and cover the sky. It was extremely terrifying. There was once an expert of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python that left behind countless legends in the ancient times. Roar! The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python let out a dragon-like roar. The seven-colored scales on its body stood up, bringing along a sonorous and deafening sound wave. Its huge body then directly pounced towards Du Xiaofu. The body of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python was like a huge and terrifying seven-colored lightning bolt. Dazzling runes swept down, sweeping through everything in an incomparably blazing manner. Du Xiaofu was calm as he stood in the void. He did not care about it and did not dodge. He allowed the runes that covered the sky and the terrifying aura to crush him. Rumble. The terrifying aura crushed the void and caused a rumbling sound. It was enough to directly suppress and heavily injure an ordinary nirvana-revered martial artist. Amidst the rumbling sound, the terrifying runes had already swept towards Du Xiaofu. The terrifying runes turned into a vortex that swallowed everything. The runes covered the sky like divine light drowning the void. It caused the ancient space to boil. The pressure was too terrifying. This was the innate ability of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python, star-swallowing. It was extremely terrifying. In the ancient times, it was rumored that an expert of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python had once swallowed dragons. This was also the important reason why this heaven wasteland star-swallowing python did not truly submit to the Dragon 9. Boom! At the same time, Du Xiaofu also moved. With a wave of his hand, a golden light erupted from his body. The sky was filled with golden rays, and a domineering and terrifying aura overflowed into the sky. It turned into the shadow of a huge peng with golden wings. It was like a huge peng spreading its wings. It opened and closed widely and directly swept forward. As the two forces of energy clashed, the void suddenly trembled. The sound was like thunder, and a series of bright runes burst out, as gorgeous as fireworks. The star-swallowing vortex of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python was easily destroyed. Bang! In an instant, Du Xiaofu's figure swept across the sky like a huge peng spreading its wings. He pressed his hand down on the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python in an overbearing and domineering manner. Oh no, I'm no match for him. In just an instant, the heart of the enormous heaven wasteland star-devouring python trembled. He had a premonition that something bad was about to happen. A tyrannical and terrifying aura swept out. The seemingly insignificant golden palm imprint contained the will and aura of a supreme beast, the golden-winged great peng. It suppressed his body, and then a huge force poured into his body. Boom! The huge body of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python fell from the sky. It spat out large mouthfuls of blood from its hideous mouth. The huge nebula python's body trembled violently. Its eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python originally thought that it had some trump cards after obtaining the huge benefits and breaking through the beast's sovereign nirvana realm. However, it did not expect that it would still be so weak in front of the ferocious demon king. It was no match for him at all. The strength of the demon king, Du Xiaofu, was too terrifying. You've lost. Do you want to submit or die? Du Xiaofu appeared. His eyes were sharp and filled with murderous intent. As long as the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python shook its head, Du Xiaofu would kill it without hesitation. There was not much time to delay. Whether it was his alcoholic father, Du Xiaoqing, Scarlet Rock, Blue Fantasy, and the others, all of them made Du Xiaofu extremely worried. The huge eyes of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python looked at the purple-robed youth floating in the sky. The sharp aura in his eyes made it know that if it shook its head, its divine soul would be destroyed in the next second. I'll submit, but I won't be a servant. I'll only submit, and I'll only be the commander of your heavenly beast hall. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python submitted in the end. However, its pride was still there. It did not want to die. Although the demon king in front of it was a human, the aura on his body seemed to be related to the golden-winged great peng race. Furthermore, he was a terrifying existence. If it followed him, it might be an opportunity. Moreover, it had already obtained great benefits. After weighing the pros and cons, it was not difficult for the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python to make a choice. Welcome to my heavenly beast hall. The sharp expression on Du Xiaofu's face turned gentle in the next second. A smile appeared in his eyes, like a flower blooming in spring. You change your face faster than flipping the pages of a book. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python once again transformed into its luxurious clothes. Looking at the gentle smile on the purple-robed youth's face, it felt even more fear in its heart. That demon king was definitely someone who changed his face faster than flipping the pages of a book. After a while, outside the cave, Du Xiaofu stretched his back. Looking at the rising clouds in the east, he said, "From now on, you'll be called Star-Swallowing. How about it? Where are we going now?" The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python did not object. It looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. "Thunder Rolling Mountain." Du Xiaofu said. He estimated that if Du Xiaoyao and the others did not find him, they would definitely go to Thunder Rolling Mountain. As for his alcoholic father, he should also appear at Thunder Rolling Mountain in the end. You have enemies all over the world. Dragon 9 is looking for you. You have killed many members of the beast race. Many extraordinary members of the beast race will definitely not let you go. Going to Thunder Rolling Mountain is no different from courting death. The star-swallowing python did not want to say anything. However, when it heard that Du Xiaofu wanted to go to Thunder Rolling Mountain, it could not help but open its mouth. So what if I have enemies all over the world? There will be a day when I will be able to rise to the top. I will be able to protect everything I want to protect in this world. I won't have to fear anyone. The obstacles now will be my best whetstone. Du Xiaofu said softly. He yearned to become stronger so that he would not have to be afraid of everything. This demon king is really a little special. The star-swallowing python looked at Du Xiaofu and muttered in its heart. However, it did not say anything else. Chapter 1081. Soon after, the two of them left. The experts of the devil religion were searching everywhere for him. Du Xiaofu had no choice but to pay more attention. The devil religion's Yin Thunder Geezer didn't know what had happened to him after facing Dongli Qingqing's master's strand of primordial spirit power. Du Xiaofu knew full well that he was no match for the Yin Thunder Geezer, so he had no choice but to avoid him. Du Xiaofu asked around and captured quite a few passers-by. He learned that ever since his drunkard father had appeared and slaughtered everyone, then left with heavy injuries, he hadn't shown himself again. He'd disappeared without a trace. "Dad, you can't let anything happen to you." Du Xiaofu found it hard to calm down. He was very worried. Demon King, Du Xiaofu, Du Tingxian. Temple Master, you aren't Du Tingshuan's son, are you? Star Swallower suddenly asked Du Xiaofu in astonishment. As he listened to Du Xiaofu's inquiries, he suddenly realized something. You guessed right. Du Tingxian is my father. If anyone dares to touch him, I won't let them off. Du Xiaofu nodded with a smile. Every time he thought of his drunkard father, his heart warmed. That quiet, drunken middle-aged man had watched over him for 17 years. 17 years later, in order to reunite with his mother and sister, his drunkard father had chosen to leave. It wasn't hard for Du Xiaofu to know that his drunkard brother was tempering himself and seeking strength. Now, he was being hunted by all of Kyushu and the Beast region. My dad seems to be stronger than me. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. His drunkard father seemed to be much stronger than him. At least he was being hunted by the devil religion and a few other powers, but his drunkard father was being hunted by the entire world. Even when he was on the Tianwu Academy's fugitive list, his drunkard's father was ranked second. You two are really father and son. You both dare to touch dragons. Awesome. Star-swallowing Star was stunned for a moment. Then, he could only smile bitterly. This father and son pair had touched dragons before. There were probably not many father and son pairs in the world who would dare to touch dragons. Father, take care. I'm coming to Thunder Rolling Mountain to look for you. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He was a little excited and a little jealous. How could Du Xiaofu not know that his drunkard father had to endure much more than he did after all these years of tempering himself outside? On the way to Thunder Rolling Mountain, Du Xiaofu didn't take the initiative to look for trouble. However, there were some blind people who wanted to find trouble with him and Star Swallowing Star by relying on their numbers. One could well imagine what would happen to them. In front of those two fiends, those who came looking for trouble would not even have the chance to regret. Along the way, Du Xiaofu wanted to find out more about Du Xiaoyao and the others. However, he didn't get any useful information. Finally, the two of them gathered information, dealt with trouble, and avoided all kinds of dangerous places on Tianhuang continent. Du Xiaofu and Star Swallowing Star approached Thunder Rolling Mountain. Thunder Rolling Mountain wasn't just a mountain. It was a vast mountain range. Because thunder rumbled in the air all year round, it was called Thunder Rolling Mountain. At this moment, there was a sea of people near Thunder Rolling Mountain. Countless figures were entrenched in their respective positions. Countless auras fluctuated. Weaker cultivators would feel an enormous pressure as soon as they got close. It was enough to cause the profound energy in their body to stagnate and their bodies to tremble. We're already in the vicinity of Thunder Rolling Mountain. Be careful. You've killed many people from the beast region. Some beast experts will definitely attack you. Star Swallowing Star couldn't help but remind Du Xiaofu. The Demon King had been hunted down the entire way. He was quite fierce and ostentatious. Don't worry. I'll be careful. Du Xiaofu patted Star Swallowing Star's shoulder and nodded. He was extremely satisfied with Star Swallowing Star. After this guy submitted, he didn't have any other thoughts. He even displayed the innate ability of the Heaven Wasteland Star Swallowing Python, Star Swallowing, for Du Xiaofu to comprehend. The two of them restrained themselves a little and quietly slipped into the sea of people. They didn't attract too much attention. The sea of people near Thunder Rolling Mountain didn't pay much attention to them either. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was already famous. However, there weren't many people who'd personally seen the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. The two of them slipped into the crowd. Amidst the clamor and discussion, they heard all sorts of rumors. Quite a few cultivators were talking about them. I didn't expect the Central Continent's Dongli Chihuang to be so strong. He has the secret art of reincarnation. His mental state and cultivation are enough to crush opponents of the same level. He can easily kill opponents of a higher level. Shang Continent's Sa Meng Sword Sex Mu Jianchen. He killed a primordial bloodline ferocious beast with a single slash. Under the sword Dao, he has never met a worthy opponent among his peers. Ning Continent's Golden Spear Sex Bailey Wuya pierced through the void with a golden spear. He fought 300 rounds with Lan Continent's Sacred Flame Sex Li Yen Wushang. In the end, there was a draw. Among the crowd, the most talked about were the 13 heroic heroes. They were the pinnacle of the younger generation. Lei Continent's Heavenly Thunder Fortress Muchinga, Wan Continent's 100 Flowers Sex Hua Zimo, Yu Continent's Snow Wind Cities Feng Wuxia, Cloud Continent's Heavenly Music Sex Yuzheng Tongxian, Cloud Continent's Misty Su Mayan, Zither Demon Shengguan Qixuan, the 9th Prince of the Dragons, Dragon 9, and the Phoenix Clan's Huang Ling, her. These names appeared one by one in Du Xiaofu's ears. It was rumored that the 13 heroic heroes were the ones with the highest chance of obtaining the inheritance of the Divine Thunder Mansion. The traces of the Divine Thunder Mansion were becoming more and more obvious. It seemed like it was about to appear completely. Various forces were quietly waiting for the final battle. Bang bang, there were many sonic booms coming from the front. Low explosions were constantly heard. The stakes for this bet are quite high. It's 10 high-grade Dao artifacts. Although the 7-star hall is not as powerful as the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 3 factions in the Central Continent, it is still the most powerful force to contend with the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 3 factions. It is rumored that the 7 hall masters of the 7-star hall are all extraordinary people. The weapon revered Xiahou Fenglei has already stepped into the 9-star Spirit Talisman Master. The 5th Hall Master, GMO, is also in the martial domain realm. You guys still don't know. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, is said to be the young Hall Master of the 7-star Hall. He is the personal disciple of the weapon revered Xiahou Fenglei. Isn't the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, a disciple of the ancient Sky Sect, Gu Qingyang? Some time ago, Gu Qingyang fought with the ancient Fist Sect's Fat Buddha for the sake of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's sect is complicated. Although he is a disciple of the ancient Sky Sect, he is also a disciple of the 7-star Hall. The ancient Sky Sect is not weak. Yesterday, the ancient Sky Sect's Shui Ruhan and Gong Zhengyu fought each other. The stakes were also 10 high-grade Dao artifacts. In the end, Shui Ruhan won easily. I heard that the Divine Thunder Body tempering ceremony was obtained by Du Xiaofu and Sima Muhan. The ancient Sky Sect is not weak, but the 7-star Hall is a little weaker. Moreover, Lin Weiqi is now facing Li Yan Wushang of the Holy Flame Sect. That guy has a natural heavenly flame. He fought 300 rounds with Bailey Wuya of the Golden Spear Sect to a draw. He is one of the 13 outstanding heroes. Lin Weiqi may not be able to defeat him. I heard that the weapon revered Xiahou Fenglei once defeated an expert of the Holy Flame Sect more than 1,000 years ago. Li Yan Wushang of the Holy Flame Sect is deliberately challenging the 7-star Hall. In front of the whole world, the 7-star Hall cannot refuse. Even if they are defeated, they can only accept it. Hearing the discussions, Du Xiaofu's expression suddenly changed. He shuttled through the crowd and immediately approached the front. Chapter 1082. As this concerned the 7-star Hall, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be concerned. Du Xiaofu spent a lot of effort to squeeze his way through the crowd to a spacious mountain top. In front of him was a towering mountain peak that seemed to have been cut in half, revealing an ancient and vast mottled plaza. The air was filled with the aura of thunder and lightning. Runes flashed around the mottled plaza, emitting an ancient aura that froze a large area of the void. It was actually a place sealed with restrictions. However, after a long time, the restrictions and seals had already begun to crack. However, they still froze the ground and void of the entire plaza. At this moment, there were many groups of people with powerful auras occupying the mountain tops around the plaza. They were the closest to the plaza. On an inconspicuous mountain top, Du Xiaofu saw the ancient Sky Sect's group. Master Gu Qingyang, Venerable Shi Jinpeng, Yin Machin, Shui Ruhan, and the others were all there. In the group not far from the ancient Sky Sect, Du Xiaofu's eyes twitched slightly. That was the 7-star Hall's group. The disciples of the 7-star Hall had also come to Tianhuang mainland. 6th Martial Uncle is actually here. At the front of the 7-star Hall's group, Du Xiaofu saw 6th Martial Uncle, Purple Sky Venerable, and many other experts of the 7-star Hall. Dongli Diao, Sun Wu, Yu Bai, Wu Ma Sheng, and the other younger generation were also there. Rumble. A low muffled sound of energy came from the sky. At this moment, on the plaza, there were 2 figures, both wrapped in rolling flames, fighting. Vaguely, it looked like a man and a woman were fighting. The water in the surrounding space turned into white smoke and dissipated under the terrifyingly high temperature that spread out from the two. The restrictions and seals around the mottled plaza could freeze the entire plaza, making it difficult for the 2 terrifying experts of the younger generation, 1 man and 1 woman, to move. What terrifying people! Lin Weiqi has the raging flame martial vein, and Li Yan Wushang has a natural strange flame. They are both experts of the younger generation. But Li Yan Wushang is even stronger. He is one of the 13 legendary heroes and the number 1 among the younger generation of the Sacred Flame sect. Gasps of astonishment could be heard from all around. Extraordinary youngsters were always able to make some people unable to help but be astonished. It's Lin Weiqi. She has already activated her raging flame martial vein. She has also become a martial honor. However, it seems that her aura is still lacking by quite a bit. Du Xiaofu raised his head and frowned, looking at the man and woman fighting on the modeled square. The woman's graceful figure was dressed in red like fire, wrapped in the mysterious runes of raging flame talismans, enough to show disdain for those of the same level. She was the number one of the younger generation of Dubhe Hall, Lin Weiqi. At this time, Lin Weiqi's opponent, the man's aura was even stronger. His entire body was wrapped in flames, suppressing Lin Weiqi. He was actually able to easily block Lin Weiqi's attacks. Go! Lin Weiqi shouted delicately. Raging flames surged and the mysterious runes of the talismans were released. Waves of raging flames intertwined like waves, interweaving into a blazing flame net. It was incomparably dazzling and swept towards her opponent. The man's body was wrapped in raging flames and he was unmoved. Flaming talismans surged out from the sky, channeling the power of heaven and earth in all directions. The man was valiant. His figure soared across the sky like a god of fire, directly sweeping through Lin Weiqi's raging flames. Wherever the man's figure passed by, the raging flames waves immediately collapsed and disappeared. The dazzling raging flames seemed to have encountered the thing that they feared the most and began to extinguish. It was unstoppable. As his figure soared across the sky, the man kicked out. It was like a god of fire had descended, directly hitting Lin Weiqi's chest. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from Lin Weiqi's chest, and the raging flame martial vein in her body began to crack. Then, she fell heavily onto the square. Pfft! Lin Weiqi spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Her body was covered in blood and it was difficult for her to get up. Her opponent had dealt her a heavy blow and severely injured her. That girl from the 7-star hall is too weak. The battle servant that I took in back then was also at the same cultivation level. Tun Xing said softly beside Du Xiaofu. He shook his head slightly. That man's strength was too strong. Nonsense, Lin Weiqi is a few years younger. The cultivation resources of the 7-star hall are not as good as his. In a few more years, there is no need to be afraid of that guy. Du Xiaofu turned his head and glared at Tun Xing. His mood was somewhat gloomy. The other party was ruthless. It was a contest and not a battle. That kind of ruthlessness was a little too much. This made Du Xiaofu a little angry. That bastard is so ruthless. In the lineup of the 7-star hall, Dong Lidiao, Sun Wu, Tao Yu, Wu Ma Sheng and the others clenched their fists and shouted in a low voice. That young man was too ruthless. Purple Sky Venerable and the other experts of the 7-star hall looked gloomy at this moment. The 7-star hall's defeat was naturally a blow to their spirits. That Li Yan Wushang of the Sacred Flame sect was too strong. He was not someone that Lin Weiqi could contend against. The raging flames converged and a young man with light red hair emerged. He looked like a 26 or 27-year-old young man. He was extraordinary and had an invincible aura. The man was wearing a cloak with a blazing flame pattern. He looked like a fire god that had descended. The 7-star hall can't even withstand a single blow. What a disappointment. The young man looked at the sky and stepped into the sky above the square. Suddenly, he waved his hand and pointed at the lineup of the 7-star hall. His voice was filled with disdain and he said coldly, I don't want the 10 high-grade Dao artifacts of the 7-star hall. As long as there are people of the same generation from the 7-star hall who dare to come up and fight me, even if they can withstand 3 moves from me, it will be fine. Do you dare? When these words were spoken, many people in the surroundings could not help but change their expressions. Some people were shocked. Li Yan Wushang was too strong. As one of the 13 outstanding deities, he was almost invincible among his peers. Li Yan Wushang was at the peak of the mysterious peak martial honorable realm. It was said that the mysterious flame in his body had already killed a nirvana martial honorable. It was difficult for him to find a match among his peers. At this moment, he was deliberately targeting the 7-star hall and wanted to humiliate the 7-star hall. Bastard, this is too much. I will go and fight with him. Dong Lidiao clenched his fists and his face was filled with anger. He could not help but rush out. Sun Tian, Wu Ma Sheng, and Tao Yu's 7-star hall's young elites were also unable to endure such humiliation. They all wanted to fight with their lives on the line. All of you, stop. If you go up, you will only embarrass yourselves even more. I told you to train harder, but you didn't listen. Now you know how to humiliate yourselves. Purple Tianzuan shouted to stop Dong Lidiao and the others. His purple robe fluttered in the wind. He knew that Dong Lidiao and the others would not be able to contend against him. Li Yan Wushang was too strong, and he even had the mysterious flame. His talent was enough to show disdain for his peers. He was invincible among those at the common level. Dong Lidiao was only at the beginning of the martial honorable realm. Just like Lin Weiqi, he was not a match for him. If the young hall master was here, he would definitely trample on that guy. A female disciple of the 7-star hall spoke. If the young hall master was here, Li Yan Wushang would not be able to be so arrogant. It's a pity that the young hall master is not here. Otherwise, that guy would not dare to be so arrogant. Dong Lidiao, Wu Ma Sheng, Yu Bai and the others frowned. Their eyes were filled with anger, but there was nothing they could do. The 7-star hall has lost. It is difficult for a beginner martial honorable to defeat a martial honorable at the peak of the mysterious realm. It is only 10 high-grade Dao artifacts. The 7-star hall can still afford to lose. Elder Cui Fu of the Imperial Pivot Hall spoke, admitting defeat. However, it also meant that a beginner martial honorable would not be a match for a martial honorable at the peak of the mysterious realm. If you are not satisfied with your loss, you can send more people up. As long as you can withstand 3 moves from me, it will be fine. You can also team up with more people. I don't mind. Li Yan Wushang pointed at the 7-star hall. He was so arrogant, but it was undeniable that he was very powerful. He said arrogantly and disdainfully, if the 7-star hall does not dare to do so, then it can only prove that the 7-star hall is too weak to withstand a single blow. You should return to the central region as soon as possible. There will no longer be a place for the 7-star hall in Tianhuang mainland. Otherwise, you will have to return in defeat. Bastard, this is too much. Dong Lidiao, Sun Tian, Tao Yu, and the others were furious. Looks like the Sacred Flame sect did this on purpose. Back then, 4th brother had severely injured someone from the Sacred Flame sect. That Li Yan Wushang must be that person's disciple. Purple Tianzuan frowned. Li Yan Wushang was arrogant, but the juniors of the 7-star hall were really no match for him. The 7-star hall would definitely lose face this time. Roar! Suddenly, from the sky above, there was a dazzling flowing light that traversed the space. It was like a purple-gold thunderbolt that struck the mottled square. A terrifying aura descended. Countless eyes looked at it. It was a broadsword that had pierced the mottled square. The broadsword's hilt was like a ferocious tiger's head. The sword's body was purple gold, like the bones of a tiger and the posture of a dragon. Dazzling mysterious runes rose from the sword's body into the sky. Its power was like an erupting volcano, accompanied by the roars of dragons and tigers. Rumble. At this moment, as the broadsword fell to the ground, the entire square shook violently with a rumbling sound. Cracks began to appear on the mottled ground of the square that was unshakable. That's a divine weapon. Countless eyes gathered on the purple-gold broadsword in an instant. The terrifying aura rippled in the air, causing the eyes of countless experts to become heated in an instant. Young Hall Master. When the purple-gold broadsword appeared in the mottled square, Lin Weiqi, who had just gotten up not far away, revealed a smile on her pale face. In the formation of the 7-star hall and the ancient heaven sect, many eyes looked at the purple-gold broadsword that had suddenly appeared. After trembling slightly, their eyes suddenly trembled. Some disciples could not help but exclaim, "He's here." At the same time, an indifferent and domineering voice suddenly resounded in the sky. 10 high-grade Tao artifacts are not worth mentioning to the 7-star hall. It's not worth mentioning to give them to you. You should scram with your tail between your legs after getting a bargain. Do you think that there is no one in the 7-star hall? In front of me, you are nothing. That indifferent and domineering voice slowly spread out. Countless eyes looked up and saw a purple-robed youth appear in the sky. The purple-robed youth was wrapped in a faint golden light. He slowly walked across the sky and finally appeared above the mottled square. His purple robe shook, and a golden light rippled like a golden flood. He waved his hand and pointed at Li Yan Wushang. His voice was incomparably domineering and intimidating. "One move. If you can withstand one move from me, this divine weapon of mine is yours. Otherwise, leave behind your Qiankuan bag and scram back to the Lan province." Chapter 1083. The purple-robed man looked around disdainfully as his voice reverberated in all directions. "Ha! The young palace master is here." Dong Lidiao, Wu Ma Sheng, Tao Yu, and the others were pleasantly surprised. They were all excited. Who else could the overbearing purple-robed man be other than the young palace master? This brat came at the right time. However, Li Yan Wushang is a peak mysterious martial saint and he has a heavenly flame. Isn't this move a little too arrogant? The heavenly purple gold palace is a precious treasure. Purple Sky Venerable's gloomy and unsightly expression turned into joy as he looked at the purple-robed man who had suddenly appeared. However, he was slightly stunned. He knew how strong Li Yan Wushang was. Du Xiaofu. That's the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. He doesn't seem to have 3 heads and 6 arms, nor does he have fangs. As the purple-robed man appeared, someone in the crowd immediately recognized the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, and exclaimed in surprise. Then, many people raised their heads in shock. Some were curious, while others were suspicious. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu's name, especially the rumor that he was ferocious and terrifying, made people curious. Around the mottled plaza, there was a tyrannical group of people. There were many extraordinary young men and women who raised their heads and looked at the purple-robed man carefully. "He's here." On a mountain peak, a golden-haired young man in a scarlet robe looked at the plaza. His eyes were dazzling. He was the holy son of the Great Wu sect, Dongli Qi Huang. That guy actually appeared. Not far away, a bald young man's eyes flickered with divine light. The scarlet brocade robe on his body fluttered slightly, and there was a faint luster flowing on his sparkling skin. His entire body fluctuated with an aura of supremacy. He was the 9th-level spirit of the immeasurable sect. One move. Li Yan Wushang is a peak mysterious martial saint. On a mountain peak, a graceful woman's eyes were clear and ethereal. Her eyelashes were deeply arched, and the outline of her face revealed an otherworldly aura. The woman's pale yellow robe fluttered in the wind. Her ink-black hair rippled with a soft luster. She was elegant and noble, like a fairy who had descended. She was Jiang Wolin of the Xiandu Gate. Is one move really enough? On a huge rock, a fair-skinned young man of about 25 or 26 years of age stood in the lead. His pair of dazzling black eyes seemed to be able to see through reincarnation as he stared at the purple-robed young man in midair in front of him. His gaze was solemn like a cold star, and the side of his face seemed to have been carved by a knife, giving off an extremely sharp feeling. On the young man's back were 3 sheathed long swords that spread out like a fan. His entire body released a terrifying and sharp aura. He was Wu Ming of the Intelligent Sword Sect. "You're Du Xiaofu." Above the mottled square, Li Yan Wushang looked at the purple-robed youth in the air. From the discussions around him, he had already guessed the identity of this newcomer. That domineering and disdainful aura caused him to be secretly moved, and his eyes blazed with anticipation. I am Du Xiaofu. If you can fight me to a draw, my divine weapon will be yours. Otherwise, scram back to the Lan Prefecture. Du Xiaofu said domineeringly. You talk big, but I'm afraid you're not strong enough. Lian Wushang soared into the air and stared at Du Xiaofu. His fiery cloak fluttered in the wind, and his aura was invincible and magnificent. For Lian Wushang, he had naturally heard of the Demon King Du Xiaofu's name. He also knew that the Demon King Du Xiaofu was a member of the Seven-Star Hall. However, he was not afraid. He had never met a worthy opponent among the younger generation. Even his battle with Bailey Wuya not long ago was a draw. He had the heavenly flame, so he had his own pride and capital. Whether you're strong enough or not, we'll know in one move. I'll let you make the first move. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to attack. Du Xiaofu glanced at Lian Wushang and stood in the air without moving. How domineering were his words. The heroes around them were stunned. Those two young men were both part of the 13 outstanding heroes, and they were currently facing each other. If there were no accidents, the younger generation would grow into terrifying existences in the future. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Lian Wushang's expression became more and more gloomy, but the aura on his body became hotter and hotter. Ever since he was young, no one had dared to talk to him like this. Even some experts of the older generation had to avoid him in fear. When he came to Tianhuang mainland, he became even more famous. He was one of the 13 outstanding heroes, the strongest existence among the younger generation in Lan State. Du Xiaofu, you've angered me. Since you're like this, I'll fulfill your wish. With a gloomy expression, Lian Wushang's aura became hotter and hotter. Finally, he could no longer suppress it. His light red hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were blazing with flames. It was as if his eyes contained two vast seas of fire. Lian Wushang was forming hand seals. A strange pale red flame began to appear on his palms. It was as if a flame was rising and burning in his palms. The surrounding air whistled, but the pale red flame would never be extinguished. As Lian Wushang's hand seals formed, the light red flame's temperature fluctuated wildly. The flame whistled and began to spread in all directions. Lian Wushang has activated the heavenly flame. Looking at the light red flame enveloping Lian Wushang's body, many experts in the surroundings were immediately moved. Lian Wushang is already at the peak of the human sovereign realm. With that heavenly flame, his talent is comparable to that of a human sovereign. The heavenly flame is even more terrifying. It can burn everything. Even an ordinary Nirvana realm martial saint would be burned to death by the heavenly flame. The experts in the surroundings were shocked. Some of the experts who understood the heavenly flame were even more shocked. I also want to know what level Xiaofu has reached. In the ancient heaven sect, the venerable golden rock wasn't worried at all. He was only curious. That guy never fights an unprepared battle. That Lian Wushang is in for a bad time. Yin Machen, Si Ruofeng, and the other disciples of the ancient heaven sect stared at the square. They didn't seem to be worried. To them, the purple-robed youth had never been defeated by anyone of the same generation. Why would he be afraid of Lian Wushang? That divine weapon is extraordinary. It must have been forged by Xiahou Fenglei. It's an absolute treasure. It looks like it will fall into the hands of the Sacred Flame sect. On a mountain peak, many people smiled faintly. One of the experts had already set his eyes on the purple gold broadsword. They were experts of the Sacred Flame sect. They knew best how terrifying Lian Wushang's final strength was when he activated the heavenly flame. Let's not talk about whether Devil King Du Xiaofu was Lian Wushang's opponent. In the entire 9 prefectures, among those of the same generation, who could defeat Lian Wushang who had activated his heavenly flame in one move? It was absolutely impossible. In the mottled square, the pale red flames on Lian Wushang's body spread. Waves of terrifying, blazing energy ripples surged out from within. As the flames swept out, there was a crackling sound in the air. The terrifying heat made people's skin burn and their primordial spirits wither. Red Lotus Heavenly Flame, gather the Heavenly Flame spiritual body. All of a sudden, Lian Wushang shouted. The faint red flames on his body were accompanied by runes. Finally, with his body as the center, they converged into an enormous raging flame spirit body that was dozens of feet tall. It towered in the air like a mountain peak, and a terrifying temperature spread out from its body. What a terrifying aura! When the huge heavenly flame spiritual body appeared, many people around opened their mouths. Their pupils shrank. The aura made people's souls wither. What a terrifying aura! The heavenly flame spiritual body can only be formed by a peerless genius. Lian Wushang is really terrifying. No wonder he's one of the 13 divine heroes. Some of the experts were quite knowledgeable. They could tell how terrifying Lian Wushang was at a glance. Du Xiaofu didn't move. He only quietly watched Lian Wushang condense the terrifying heavenly flame spiritual body. He could also feel the terrifying heat spreading out from the huge heavenly flame spiritual body, causing his brows to twitch. The huge heavenly flame spiritual body looked down at Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the space around Lian Wushang's body was slightly distorted. The blazing aura constantly fluctuated, turning into billowing flames that swept out like a tidal wave. Kid, you'll have to pay for your actions. Lian Wushang shouted. Under countless shocked gazes, his huge body rushed out. One of his hands pressed towards Du Xiaofu's body. Rumble. The huge heavenly flame spiritual body swept across the sky like a meteor. The terrifying aura was like the descent of the fire god, causing people's hearts to tremble in fear. At this moment, people with the same cultivation level would probably be destroyed under the pressure of such a terrifying aura. The terrifying aura and billowing flames instantly appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1084. Under everyone's attentive gazes, just as the billowing waves of flames were about to reach Du Xiaofu moved. Golden light suddenly shone from his clear eyes, and golden talisman patterns were faintly flickering on his skin. In that instant, an incomparably domineering aura suddenly emanated from his tall and straight body. His purple robes fluttered in the wind, domineering and disdainful. Boom! The space trembled. At that moment, Du Xiaofu's terrifying aura was like that of a peerless ferocious beast. His figure swept out and soared into the sky. Suddenly, a golden fist condensed in his hand and smashed down on the huge flaming giant with a domineering and disdainful aura. Wherever this golden fist passed, the space started to distort from the fist and instantly cracked and exploded. The terrifying golden energy turned into ripples of energy and talisman patterns, as if a golden wave had suddenly swept out in the air. The formless domineering aura shook the space and caused the space to ripple endlessly. Between heaven and earth, it was as if there was endless thunder. Roar! This fist was accompanied by a dragon's roar and a divine elephant's cry. The surrounding space rumbled as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The entire space shook violently. Under the astonished gazes of the numerous people in the surroundings of the mottled square with their mouths agape, the two terrifying figures collided fiercely with each other like meteors. Boom! At that moment, a huge explosion of energy resounded throughout the entire Thunder Roll Mountain. Golden light shone brightly as raging flames swept out. It was as if the wrath of a demon god had swept out and the wrath of a fire god had spread out. The terrifying commotion caused people's hearts to tremble uncontrollably. After the loud explosion, the collision of energy swept out like a volcanic eruption, and the light was incomparably dazzling. The two waves of energy each released their own terrifying might, and a large area of space was destroyed. The energy spread out and suddenly spread out in a horizontal line in the sky. The dissipating faint red flames and golden light were like two young gods colliding. Lian Wushang has lost. He's no match for Du Xiaofu. The Paramitha revered martial artist, Du Xiaofu, is even stronger. That punch of his is too terrifying. Every move of his contains his own fist Dao. Du Xiaofu has actually reached that level. Li Yan Wushang's defeat was not unjust. As Du Xiaofu punched out, many of the top experts in the formation were stunned. Then, many of them looked surprised and sighed. They already knew the result. He won. That brat is indeed stronger. Within the ancient Heaven Sex formation, the Golden Peng Supreme expert smiled. His wide golden robes fluttered about, and his pupils fluctuated with golden light, making him look like an overlord. That punch contained a type of tyrannical fist Dao. With the cultivation of a nirvana-revered martial artist and that terrifying physical strength that had long since surpassed those of the same level of cultivation, it was enough to easily destroy Lian Wushang. Purple Sky Sovereign's eyes trembled. He couldn't help but feel excited. He already knew the result. Ka 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 ka. In the void, Lian Wushang's huge body of flames was destroyed. Du Xiaofu's punch was like a golden black hole that could devour and destroy everything. The tyrannical fist Dao contained in it destroyed his will. Puchi. With blood spurting out from his mouth, Lian Wushang's body fell heavily onto the mottled square. The impact caused the square to tremble continuously. Looking at this scene, everyone lost their color. Everyone's heart was shaken. That demon king Du Xiaofu was too strong. With just one move, the powerful Lian Wushang was defeated, and defeated so miserably. The confrontation in the square made everyone's heart beat wildly. The demon king Du Xiaofu was too strong. His tyrannical savagery was supported by absolute strength. No wonder it was rumored that even the dragons dared to provoke him. The demon king Du Xiaofu disappeared for a period of time. Now, he has reappeared. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Some of the outstanding talents of the younger generation were also shocked at this moment. In front of the ancient sky sect, Elder Gu Qingyang's white robe fluttered in the wind. His ruddy face was smiling like a flower. He, the number one in Lan State, Lian Wushang, has a heavenly flame. Compared to my disciple, he's nothing. With such a disciple, what more can I ask for? Hu Sangkuan, Elder Qiong Mingze, and the others looked at Elder Gu Qingyang and could only sigh helplessly. On the contrary, the experts and disciples of the Sacred Flame sect in Lan State all had ugly expressions on their faces in a short period of time. None of them had expected such an outcome. Everything that seemed impossible had actually become reality. The number one in the younger generation of the Sacred Flame sect, and even the number one in the entire Lan State, Lian Wushang, had once received the divine thunder body refinement. But in the end, this was the result. He's getting stronger and stronger. On a mountain peak, many people's gazes were fluctuating. A delicate and beautiful girl looked forward with a faint smile. She was Zhu Shui of the mysterious talisman sect. As expected of Brother Xiaofu. Beside the beautiful girl, there was a young man in a purple robe. At this moment, he was also very excited. He was Guoming, who had a good relationship with Du Xiaofu. Not far from Zhu Shui and Guoming, there was an extraordinary young man in a loose robe. He had a slender figure and looked to be in his mid-20s. At this moment, he was looking at Du Xiaofu in front of him with a disdainful smile. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he muttered, "He's really not weak. It's a pity that I'm no longer the same as before. One day, all of this will belong to me. The number one in Lan State, but you can't even withstand a single blow. From now on, you're removed from the 13 outstanding heroes. You're not fit to be in the same group. Leave your Qiankuan bag and leave." Du Xiaofu stood in the air, looking down at Li Yan Wushang who had crashed into the square. He was still as domineering as before. Hearing this, the hearts of the experts in the surroundings rippled. That purple-robed young man was truly domineering and awe-inspiring. Li Yan Wushang struggled to crawl up from the ground. He was still vomiting blood. With one look, it was clear that he no longer had the strength to continue fighting. He was struggling to crawl up with his last breath. Looking at the purple-robed young man in the air, Li Yan Wushang's eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. The strength of that young man made him feel truly terrified. Leave your Qinkuan bag and scram. Otherwise, I don't mind taking your life. Du Xiaofu shouted without the slightest trace of politeness. His gaze was frightening and cold. Today's humiliation will be returned tenfold in the future. Li Yan Wushang tightly bit his lips until blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It was unclear whether the blood came from his mouth or from the corner of his mouth. After throwing a total of 3 Qinkuan bags to Du Xiaofu in the air, he turned around and left with hatred in his heart. Du Xiaofu caught the Qinkuan bags. With a wave of his hand, the purple-gold heavenly tower in the square was absorbed into his body under the greedy gazes of many people. Sweeping his gaze across the sea of people, Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed with a faint golden light. He opened his mouth slightly and murmured, "Father, are you in Thunder Rolling Mountain? I've come to find you. Can you see me?" Among the crowd, there was a woman on top of a mountain. She was quietly looking at the purple-robed young man in the air in the distance. The woman wore a long dress that outlined her graceful curves. However, her face was extremely mediocre. She couldn't be considered ugly, but she definitely wouldn't make people want to take a second look at her. The woman's eyes trembled and her voice trembled as she softly said, "Uncle, he's here. He's so flamboyant. He must be reminding you to go find him. That little bastard is really flamboyant. But now is not the time, not the time." Behind the woman was a drunken middle-aged man. His messy hair made it impossible to see his face clearly. He reeked of alcohol, making people not want to take a second look at him. He was taking small sips of the strong wine in his jug as if he was talking to himself. "I didn't think that he would be so strong," the woman softly said. Her eyes couldn't remain calm. She looked at the purple-robed young man in the distance with ripples in her eyes. "Hee, of course. My son is definitely not weak." The drunken middle-aged man raised his head and looked at the woman. Under his messy hair, one could faintly see a smile on his face. His lips were very thin and his smile was very pure. He smiled very happily and said to the woman, "What do you think? If you like him, I'll make the decision to let him marry you. What do you think?" "Uncle, you're making fun of me again." The woman's eyes suddenly became shy. She gave off a beautiful and charming aura. Then she stared at the drunken middle-aged man and said, "I'm just worried that it's useless for you to make the decision. He won't listen to you. Moreover, he is so powerful. I'm afraid that he has already found you a daughter-in-law. You don't need to worry about him. If he dares to not listen to me, I'm his father." The drunken middle-aged man said. Then he slightly frowned and said, "If he has already found a daughter-in-law and you don't mind, then you can marry them all. It'll be good for my Du family." "Uncle, you," the woman helplessly looked at the drunken middle-aged man. She didn't know what to say. She really didn't know how to describe this fierce father and son. This little bastard has also awakened the thunder martial vein." Suddenly, in the drunken middle-aged man's eyes, there was a faint flash of lightning. Then, in an instant, it disappeared from his eyes. In the mottled sky, Du Xiaofu looked around. Suddenly, the thunder martial vein in his body seemed to have sensed something and started to fluctuate. Then, the fluctuation disappeared. Chapter 1085. "Little bastard, you must pay the price for injuring my sect's disciples today." Just as Du Xiaofu was secretly surprised, a thunderous roar suddenly came from the front. Whoosh whoosh. Several figures flew out from one side of the formation, and an extremely vigorous aura suddenly spread out. The two auras at the front were the most terrifying. One of them was a short and fat elder with cold eyes. Beside the short and fat old man, there was a majestic old man whose aura was even stronger than the short and fat old man's. Sovereign Gang Fist, what do you want? I'll accompany you. As the several auras surged over, Sovereign Golden Rock from the ancient heaven sect shouted. Then, he immediately flew out with Gu Qingyang and appeared beside Du Xiaofu. Sovereign Gang Fist, you dare touch my 7-star hall's disciples. Do you believe that I won't kill every single one of your ancient fist sect's disciples? At the same time, Purple Tianzuan shouted. His purple robe fluttered, and his figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. His eyes were filled with a strange and frightening purple light, and his long purple hair fluttered behind him. He exuded the aura of a king. People from the ancient fist sect. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the several people who had come with ill intentions. He had already seen one of the short and fat elders. It was Fat Buddha from the ancient fist sect. At this time, the majestic elder beside Fat Buddha had an even more vigorous aura. He was not much weaker than Purple Tianzuan and Sovereign Golden Rock. He should also be a top expert who had reached the peak of the Nirvana realm. Greetings to Master, Grandmaster, and 6th Martial Uncle. Du Xiaofu did not pay too much attention to the people from the ancient fist sect. He then bowed to his master, Gu Qingyang, Sovereign Golden Rock, and Purple Tianzuan. No need for formalities. Don't worry, with your 6th martial uncle here, this Sovereign Gang Fist old man from the ancient fist sect can't touch you. Purple Tianzuan said to Du Xiaofu. He did not pay too much attention to the people from the ancient fist sect. With Grandmaster here, no one can touch you. The Honorable Golden Rock smiled as well. His eyes shone with a terrifying golden light. His aura was formless and overbearing. This was the overbearing aura of the Golden Rock. Du Xiaofu, get out here and accept your death. Today, I will definitely grind your bones to dust. Suddenly, another loud shout was heard, and a long green rainbow fell like a thunderbolt. The long rainbow converged, and then turned into an old man with long green hair who looked to be in his 70s. The old man's face was a little ferocious, and his eyes were filled with coldness. The aura on his body had imperceptibly frozen this space. Judging from his aura, this old man was clearly from the Beast clan. His aura and cultivation were definitely not below Purple Tianzuan's. That's the Green Abyss Flood Dragon, an overlord of the Beast region. He's a peak Nirvana Beast Sovereign, and also the father of the Green Abyss Flood Dragon. The Green Abyss Flood Dragon had a son at an old age, but he was killed by you. He must have heard the news, so he came from the Beast region to kill you. He definitely won't let you go. My clan has some ties with him, and I was the brother of the Green Abyss Flood Dragon back then. Master, you'll have to take care of yourself, Star Swallowing transmitted his voice to Du Xiaofu's ear. His figure had already hidden somewhere. Green Abyss Flood Dragon, Peak Nirvana Beast Sovereign. Du Xiaofu looked at the Green Abyss Flood Dragon and secretly clicked his tongue. You killed my Heaven Blade Sect's disciple, so of course I won't let you go. Just as Du Xiaofu clicked his tongue, a few more figures appeared. Their auras were definitely not below those of the ancient fist sect. Du Xiaofu glanced at them and frowned for a while. One of them was the Fire Saber Venerable of the Heaven Saber sect, whom he had met before. He was a chaotic element martial sovereign. At this moment, beside the Fire Saber Venerable was an old man with a fierce murderous aura. He was dressed in tight clothes, and his eyes were cold. His aura was comparable to that of the Venerable Golden Rock and Purple Tianzuan. He was another Nirvana martial sovereign. Heaven Saber Sect. Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold. Not only was the Heaven Saber Sect haunting him, but they had also put out a bounty on him in the Tianhuang mainland. Now that they had appeared, they would definitely not let him go easily. As a few more top experts arrived, it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Gu Qingyang, Purple Tianzuan, and the Venerable Golden Rock secretly turned serious. Heaven Saber Venerable of the Heaven Saber sect, I'm afraid his cultivation is not lower than your Grandmaster's. Once you take action later, take care to protect yourself. Gu Qingyang's voice transmission also landed in Du Xiaofu's ears at the same time. In the void, Gang Fist Venerable and Fat Buddha Venerable both sneered. With the addition of a few top experts, they had the upper hand. It's going to be lively. Count me in too. My mysterious talisman sect has some ties with Du Xiaofu. If anyone dares to touch him, I'll have to join in the fun. However, just as Gang Fist Venerable and Fat Buddha Venerable sneered, two figures appeared outside the square. An old man with a ruddy complexion walked over slowly. His eyes were bright, and there was a soul-stirring aura around him. Beside the ruddy old man, there was another old man in a cape. Although his aura was weaker, it was similar to that of Gu Qingyang. Someone from the mysterious talisman sect. Du Xiaofu's gaze followed the direction where the two experts had come from, before he saw a delicate and pretty lady with a smile on her face. She was Zhu Shui from the mysterious talisman sect. Without guessing, Du Xiaofu knew that the mysterious talisman sect had come to help because of Zhu Shui. Old man Ling Fu, why are you here? Venerable Golden Rock was a little surprised to see the ruddy old man from the mysterious talisman sect. Although the mysterious talisman sect and the ancient heaven sect had always been on good terms, there was no need for them to help at this time. I'm here to stretch my body. After not seeing you for so many years, you still look so young. It seems that you're about to step into the domain realm. Venerable Spirit Talisman looked at Venerable Golden Rock as if they were old acquaintances. Greetings, seniors. Du Xiaofu was very tactful. He knew that the two experts from the mysterious talisman sect had come to help him, so he stepped forward and bowed. Ha, you don't have to be so courteous. You've saved my face. Venerable Spirit Talisman looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled, indicating that there was no need for him to be courteous. The other expert from the mysterious talisman sect also nodded and smiled at Du Xiaofu. He did not speak, but he did not show any signs of arrogance. Instead, his eyes were filled with admiration for Du Xiaofu. Venerable Golden Rock, Gu Qingyang, and Amethyst Venerable looked at each other. They could see that Venerable Spirit Talisman had not come for the Ancient Heaven sect or the Seven-Star Hall, but for Du Xiaofu. After Du Xiaofu bowed, he looked around. At this moment, there seemed to be not much difference between the two sides. The Heaven Saber sect and the Ancient Fist sect had the Fire Saber Venerable and Gang Fist Venerable, two Nirvana Martial Venerables. Together with the Green Hellish Flood Dragon and the Nirvana Martial Venerable, there were three top experts. However, Amethyst Venerable, Venerable Golden Rock, and Venerable Spirit Talisman of the Mysterious Talisman sect were not inferior to the Fire Saber Venerable. The Heaven Saber sect had the Fire Saber Venerable, the Ancient Fist sect had the Fat Buddha Venerable, but the Mysterious Talisman sect had another expert, Gu Qingyang. They were not at a disadvantage at all. Kill Saber, Gang Fist, if you want to fight, I'll keep you company. Venerable Golden Rock was still overbearing. His golden robe fluttered and he looked like he was about to fight. On the other hand, the Kill Saber Venerable and Gang Fist Venerable were still a little hesitant. Once they fought, the consequences would be out of their control. The Divine Thunder Mansion had not appeared yet. If they fought, they would undoubtedly let others take advantage of them. Most importantly, they knew that they would not be able to gain any advantage at this moment. Humph, you killed my son, extracted my son's dragon tendons and bones, and ate his flesh and blood. Such hatred is irreconcilable. The Green Abyss Flood Dragon roared. He had no scruples. There were no disciples here, and he was not here to fight for the Divine Thunder Mansion. The Green Abyss Flood Dragon came to the Tianhuang mainland to avenge his son. How could he let go of the human who killed his son and skinned him? So what? Green Abyss Flood Dragon, if you want to fight, I'll keep you company. I'm not afraid of you. Amethyst Venerable shouted without backing down. His purple robe fluttered and his king's chi surged. He was not inferior to the Green Abyss Flood Dragon at all. Boom! Suddenly, just as Zi Tianzuan shouted, behind the mottled square, behind the mountain peaks that had been cut off, a bolt of lightning suddenly rose. Electric arcs spread out, bringing with them a faintly discernible mist. Then, a roar that shook the earth and mountains seemed to burst out from the ground. Cracks appeared under the feet of countless figures in the surroundings, and electric arcs shuttled back and forth on the ground. The entire thunder-rolling mountain was rumbling and trembling. An ancient aura of destruction filled the sky. At this moment, the entire thunder-rolling mountain was like a thunder god that was about to wake up from a deep slumber. Electric arcs overflowed everywhere. Boom! Thunder clouds suddenly gathered high up in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, causing people's ears to ring. Wind and clouds surged in the surrounding sky. Then, the sky darkened. Everyone was shocked by this scene, and their gazes immediately turned to the front. There's movement again, and it's getting more and more frequent. The Divine Thunder Mansion must have appeared in the world. The Divine Thunder Mansion must be in the thunder-rolling mountain. Many elders around looked forward. Their eyes were focused, and their bodies were trembling. They were extremely nervous. In the sky above, there were many obscure auras that peeked in from all directions. Chapter 1086. Behind the broken peaks, electric arcs raged and a terrifying aura rippled. However, it gradually disappeared. Looks like the Divine Thunder Mansion is about to appear. There must be the inheritance of Jinlei Tensei in the Divine Thunder Mansion. I wonder who will get the opportunity in the end. A burly man said. His voice was not soft and many people could hear him clearly. Get ready. The Divine Thunder Mansion is the most important. The elders of the sects immediately ordered their disciples to make preparations so that they could fight for the huge opportunity. Back then, Jinlei Tensei was so powerful that it could be said that he looked down on the past and present and shook the world. If they could get his inheritance, they would be able to soar into the sky and shake the vast land. Around the mottled square, countless figures got ready. Most of the people looked away from Du Xiaofu, Venerable Golden Rock, Venerable Zi Tianzuan, and Green Abyss Flood Dragon. In comparison, no matter how exciting the scene was, it was not as important as the Divine Thunder Mansion. Roars of the beast race could be heard from afar. Some of the beast race were also getting ready. The aura of the human forces surged. Some of them even had runes on their bodies. They stood densely, ready to rush forward to fight for the treasure of the Divine Thunder Mansion. On the mottled square, Venerable Killer Saber and Venerable Gang Fist were in an awkward situation. If they fought, they were not confident that they could kill Du Xiaofu under the obstruction of Venerable Golden Rock, Venerable Zi Tianzuan, and Elder Ling Fu as the Divine Thunder Mansion was about to open. However, if they did not fight, they would not be able to get out of the embarrassing situation. The Green Abyss Flood Dragon's eyes were gloomy and murderous. However, he was not a reckless person. Facing the three experts, Reverend Golden Rock, Purple Sky Master, and Old Man Ling Fu, if the humans from the Ancient Fist sect and the Heaven Blade sect left, he would be the unlucky one. Green Abyss Flood Dragon would not believe that the humans had become allies. Moreover, they just happened to be together and had not become allies yet. Whoosh! In the sky, a lot of spatial fluctuations suddenly appeared. Blazing heat waves rolled over and over. Four huge creatures flapped their wings and flew over. Their bodies were wrapped in rolling flames. Everywhere they passed, white smoke spread out. Blazing heat engulfed the earth. Is it the blazing fire Yuan and the Phoenix clan? Du Xiaofu raised his head. The blazing behemoth looked like a bird, yet it wasn't. It was like a phoenix, and its entire body was crimson red. This made Du Xiaofu slightly surprised. The behemoth was the raging flame one that he had seen in the heavenly wasteland city. It was a terrifying existence on the heavenly beast list and had the bloodline of the Phoenix clan. The four behemoths flapped their wings a few times and appeared in the sky above the crowd. They didn't stop at all as they pulled a phoenix carriage and flew through the air. The phoenix carriage was completely inscribed with talisman markings and had an ancient aura. It flickered with 7 colored lights, and a beautiful woman could faintly be seen sitting upright within it. Could it be that Huang Linger of the Phoenix clan? Du Xiaofu curiously looked at the sky. He had heard from Dongli Qingqing that a member of the Phoenix clan who could ride a blazing fire yuan as a mount must have an extremely high status in the clan. It was said that Huang Linger of the Phoenix clan was among the 13 mystical heroes. Du Xiaofu guessed that the one inside the Phoenix carriage must be Huang Linger. She should also be here for the Divine Thunder Mansion. As the Phoenix carriage passed by, many people with powerful auras appeared in the sky behind it. At least half of them had the aura of a human. There were also a few humans with extremely powerful auras. Although they couldn't be compared to the level of the yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger, they weren't far off. They were much stronger than Li Yan Wushang, who Du Xiaofu had just defeated in one move. Ding! When the Phoenix carriage stopped in the air, the rainbow-colored ornaments on the curtain made a crisp sound. Then, the figure of a woman flew out and floated in the air. Her appearance was dazzling. What a beautiful woman! She looked to be around 23 or 24 years old with a graceful figure. The woman's jet-black hair was tied up in a princess bun. There was a rainbow-colored hairpin in the bun with a few strands of tassels hanging down. Her soft skin was like snow. Her face was glossy, her lips were like cherry blossoms, and her eyebrows were like ink paintings. She looked so refined that she didn't have the slightest trace of the mortal world. She wore a red pleated skirt with floral patterns, revealing her snow-white breasts. The skirt only covered her knees, and she wore a pair of rainbow-colored stockings on her calves, making her long and slender legs seem even taller. A rainbow-colored belt also wrapped around her waist, making her slender waist look even more slender, making her breasts even more plump and full. The woman only appeared and stood quietly in front of the carriage. She appeared so dignified and noble, untainted by even a speck of dust. She was indescribably ethereal and elegant. What a beautiful woman! Following the appearance of this woman, many extraordinary women in the surrounding mountains were secretly ashamed of their inferiority. They were overshadowed by her. Too beautiful. The heavily injured Lin Weiqi had already retreated to the 7-star hall's lineup. Looking at the woman who appeared at this moment, she, who had always been rather confident in her beauty, couldn't help but feel a little envious at this moment. Compared to that woman, she knew that she was inferior. Huang Linger is here. After a short moment of daze, there were many shocked and trembling voices. The woman was Huang Linger of the Phoenix clan. She had long made a name for herself in battle on Tianhuang mainland. She had always been recognized as the top of the 13 divine heroes along with the dragons, Dragon 9. It really is Huang Linger. She's quite beautiful. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved slightly as he probed with his mind. However, he found that Huang Linger's aura was unfathomable. It was like a blazing deep hole that was bottomless and impossible to see through. Huang Linger appeared. Everything around her seemed to have nothing to do with her at this moment. She just quietly looked at the trembling mountains in front of her. Her scarlet, 7-colored eyes seemed to be deep in thought. Ah! Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's clear eyes moved. He felt Du Xiaoyao's aura in his body. Roar! In the distance, there was a faint roar in the air. It was getting closer and closer, causing the mountains to tremble. Du Xiaofu's face suddenly darkened, as if he had sensed something. Roar! At this moment, countless beastly roars came from the mountains in all directions. Thousands of beasts were hibernating, ferocious birds were prostrating, and many meridian souls in the sky were also trembling. Swoosh swoosh, numerous gazes turned to look behind them. Many of them had already sensed a supreme being aura spreading out from behind them. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled, and the mountains trembled. A golden light surged out behind them. It was like a phantom of a 5-fingered mountain. Every time it appeared, it would disappear into thin air again. Where do you think you're going? In the sky behind, there were loud roars. There were no less than 20 figures in the sky, erupting with a terrifying aura. They were chasing after something at lightning speed, freezing the void. It was very terrifying. There was no lack of absolutely powerful experts. Go after them, don't let them go. Loud roars continued to come from the sky behind them, resounding through the clouds like thunder. Then, an extremely huge and dazzling carriage rolled over. It was pulled by 4 ferocious and terrifying strange beasts. The strange beasts were dozens of feet tall. They had the head of a dragon and the body of a horse. Their bodies were covered in snow-white scales, and runes covered their bodies. That was the white-scale draconic horse. It was rumored that it was the offspring of the ancient horse race and dragons. On the dazzling carriage, there was a young man of 23 or 24 years old riding on the horse. He was dressed in battle clothes, and his eyes were like the most dazzling stars. He was looking forward and shouted loudly. His aura was majestic, and his appearance was handsome like a jade carving. White-scale draconic horse, Dragon 9. When he saw the carriage and the young man, Du Xiaofu's eyes sank to the extreme. Rumble. Golden light flashed, and there was a phantom of a 5-fingered mountain. The golden light surged out, causing the mountains in all directions to tremble and resonate. The earth shook and the mountains shook, and then it disappeared again. Go after them. The 20 figures soared into the sky. Like Huang Ling, of the Phoenix clan, they ignored all the forces and experts above the Kyushu. They were even more arrogant than Huang Ling, and the others. More than 20 figures soared into the sky and exploded with their aura, causing a huge commotion in the crowd below. Rumble. On the mottled square, golden light suddenly burst out. A golden talisman pattern surged out and turned into a 5-fingered mountain. Wrapped in the golden light, several figures appeared on the mottled square. There were a total of 4 figures. They were Du Xiaoqing, Scarlet Rock, Blue Fantasy, and Little Tiger. Puff puff, as the 4 of them appeared, they all spat out blood. Especially Little Tiger, his injuries seemed to be the most serious. His black clothes were stained with blood, and his aura was weak. The golden light of the 5-fingered mountain faded, and then it turned into a golden monkey the size of a baby. Its eyes were like natural spiritual eyes. It was Du Xiaoyao. At this moment, Du Xiaoyao's aura was also extremely weak. She looked at Du Xiaofu, who was in midair, and immediately transmitted her voice to Du Xiaofu. We encountered the puppets of the dragons. After a big battle, we were entangled. Later, Dragon 9 arrived and personally attacked with a few strong guys. We are all injured, and Little Tiger's injuries are the most serious. Rumble. At the same time, before Du Xiaoyao's voice fell, among the 20 figures in front of them, a middle-aged man who seemed to be the strongest had already appeared on the mottled square. His cultivation was at the absolute peak of the martial honorable realm. He did not even care about Purple Sky Sovereign, Venerable Golden Rock, and the others. Where do you think you're going? With a loud roar, runes burst out from the man's body, causing the surrounding space to ripple to the sky. It was like waves after waves. Stepping on the void, he immediately pounced on Little Tiger, who was severely injured. A claw mark distorted the space, as if he wanted to capture Little Tiger alive. With the former's cultivation and Little Tiger's current strength, it was impossible for them to break free from the claw that distorted space. Chapter 1087. This burly man was Dragon 9's battle servant. As a battle servant, he had submitted to Dragon 9 and had also benefited greatly from Dragon 9. The terrifying claw print spread out and enveloped the Little Tiger. At this moment, this burly man was not even afraid of the top experts around him. This was because he was Dragon 9's battle servant, and Dragon 9 was a pure-blooded cub with the true bloodline of dragons, a true descendant of the true dragon. Above Kyushu, Who would dare to touch the cub of dragons, the descendant of the true dragon? Therefore, he was fearless. No one would dare to touch him. The entire dragons were his protection, enough to allow him to move unhindered above Kyushu. What a powerful battle servant. His strength is not ordinary. Many people around them were stunned. The middle-aged battle servant was very strong. Some experts could see that although the battle servant had just broken through to Martial Venerable realm, his strength was comparable to a late-stage Martial Venerable, close to the peak. His battle strength was definitely among the top among cultivators of the same level. Even if this battle servant did not have the talent of a human emperor, he would at least have the talent of an outstanding talent. In terms of battle strength, this battle servant is stronger than Li Yan Wushang, said an expert. He could feel that the battle servant's strength and aura were stronger than Li Yan Wushang's. After all, Martial Venerable Realm cultivation was 2 small realms higher than Li Yan Wushang's. It's not your place to be arrogant. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, his eyes cold. He stomped his foot, and a rolling golden light rushed into the sky from behind him, spreading out like a golden ocean. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, and a golden claw print swept out. The faint aura was like a golden winged rock soaring into the golden ocean. The golden winged rock beast technique. Seeing Du Xiaofu's attack, someone exclaimed in shock. Some experts could sense that what Du Xiaofu was using right now was not some ordinary golden winged rock beast energy. If he had not obtained the benefits of the golden winged rock, it would have been difficult for him to comprehend such a domineering golden winged rock beast ability secret technique. This seems to be similar to the power of a real golden winged rock. There's almost no difference. This is unbelievable. An expert who was extremely proficient in the profound of beast energy spoke. He had sensed something special about it. Many of the beast race experts present could clearly feel the terrifying pressure. It was the aura of a beast sovereign, and it made them tremble in fear for no reason. Even Dragon 9, who had just arrived in midair, and the alluring Huang Linger, who was hovering in midair not far away, were flabbergasted. The golden claw was completely formed from golden talisman patterns. Like a golden tsunami, it directly collided with the former's claw. The dazzling talisman patterns wreaked havoc like golden lightning. The domineering and fierce aura did not seem to be present in humans. It could only exist in the bodies of beast sovereigns. It caused the densely packed figures in the surroundings to feel their meridians and souls tremble. Everyone's meridians and souls felt uncomfortable and fearful for no reason. It was as if they were facing a king. All of this took a long time to describe, but as Du Xiaofu attacked, Du Xiaofu's golden claw reached out in an instant. Chi 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 chi, the 2 claw attacks collided. The dazzling light from the talisman patterns was so dazzling that those who were not strong enough could not look directly at it. The moment the 2 clashed, a sharp scream rang out. As the energy dissipated, the burly man's body was sent flying. Blood flowed from his mouth. The hand that the burly man had just clawed out with was a bloody mess. Du Xiaofu's claw had shattered his defense and flesh, revealing his white bones. Everyone held their breaths, their faces filled with shock. In just one move, the perfect martial sovereign level burly man was defeated by Du Xiaofu's claw. This kind of strength was too strong. Perfect martial sovereigns dare to touch my people. You're courting death. Du Xiaofu took the initiative to attack. Just as the burly man's body was sent flying, his figure soared into the sky. It was as if he had transformed into a golden thunderbolt. He was as fast as lightning and arrived in an instant. A-oh! The burly man's eyes trembled. He used all his strength. The talisman patterns around him soared into the sky. He activated his meridians and transformed into a huge ferocious green beast. The strange beast was like a fox but not a fox. It looked like a wolf but not a wolf. Its entire body was covered in scales. Its aura was terrifying. It stirred up a wave of talisman patterns like a waterfall pouring down from the sky. It was definitely a demonic beast ranked at the top of the heavenly beast list. Humph. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly in the face of the burly man's battle servant's meridians. His expression was fierce. He waved his hand and a purple flame rolled out. Its aura was monstrous and blazing. Gee! Amidst the rolling purple flame, talisman patterns filled the sky. It was as if a purple sun had erupted. It transformed into a purple flame demonic phoenix phantom. It flapped its wings and let out a cry. Its voice pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks. It was accompanied by rolling purple flames that enveloped the sky and the ground. It directly suppressed the strange beast's meridians. Purple flame demonic phoenix. It's different from the beast energy secret skills that ordinary humans have comprehended. In the sky, Huang Ling's eyes revealed a look of astonishment as she looked at the huge purple flame demonic phoenix phantom. Her beautiful face was truly moved. The burly man's battle servant's meridians and the purple flame demonic phoenix phantom confronted each other. However, in just a few breaths, the burly man's battle servant's meridians began to crack and shatter under the surging energy radiance that was spreading in all directions. Pooh! Then, the strange beast's meridians were engulfed by the rolling purple flames. It was about to be completely incinerated into nothingness. The burly man's battle servant also spat out mouthfuls of blood. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared from the monstrous purple flames. He was as agile as a deity and unpredictable. He used the wave-like carefree steps. His fist directly appeared and landed on the burly man's battle servant's head. Ninth Lord, save, bang. With a deep explosion, the burly man's battle servant's defenses were smashed into pieces. His pupils contracted in fear. Before he could yell for help, his head was smashed into pieces by Du Xiaofu's fist. Blood mist poured out and energy shot out. Then, everything in the surroundings completely calmed down. A complete martial honorable was definitely a powerhouse at the top of the pyramid in the entire Kyushu. However, he was brutally killed by the purple-robed youth in such a simple manner. Powerful, domineering, fierce, and cruel. Everyone in the surroundings was stunned by Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the purple-robed youth had shocked the human race and the surrounding beasts. There were originally many arrogant young men and women in the surroundings. They were all top powerhouses of the younger generation of the various mountain sections. Even though many of them were not ranked among the 13 outstanding heroes in the Tianhuang continent, they had made a name for themselves during this period of time on the Tianhuang continent. Therefore, they all had their own pride. They indeed had the right to be arrogant. However, when they looked at the purple-robed youth, there was only shock in many young men and women's eyes. There was no longer any arrogance to speak of. On top of the carriage pulled by the white-scaled dragon horse, the handsome Dragon 9's battle robes fluttered in the wind. At this moment, his eyes were very sharp. Dragon 9 didn't seem to care about the death of a battle servant. However, when he looked at Du Xiaofu, a terrifying killing intent surged from the depths of his eyes. Retreat quickly. As the battle servant with the strongest cultivation was easily dealt with, the eyes of many battle servants and young men and women of the beast clan who were chasing after them trembled. They slowly retreated, no longer daring to attack the little tiger and the others. That's my son. In the depths of the densely packed crowd, there was a huge tree on a mountain top. A drunken middle-aged man stood on top of a huge tree. Under his messy hair, his thin lips faintly curved into a smile. It was a very straightforward smile. Damn it, Du Xiaofu is defying the heavens. It's too terrifying. After being stunned for a long time, someone couldn't help but gasp and exclaim in shock. The surroundings were silent. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, his purple robes fluttering in the wind. He didn't care about killing a perfected martial venerable so easily. Instead, he stared directly at Dragon 9 on the carriage. Looking at Du Xiaofu's actions and also at Dragon 9, the entire Thunder Rolling Mountain's attention was completely focused on the two of them. Countless experts' hearts rose and fell. It wasn't difficult to know that no matter how one looked at it, no one dared to easily predict what would happen next. One was the ferocious demon king Du Xiaofu, who dared to challenge the dragons. Ever since he entered Tianhuang mainland, he had always been domineering and fierce. In a short period of time, countless legends had spread about him. The other was the descendant of the true dragons, the pure-blooded cub of dragons, Dragon 9. He was recognized as the leader of the 13 mystical heroes and had never been defeated in Tianhuang mainland. Now that the two of them had finally met, what would happen next? Would the top experts of the Ancient Heaven sect, the Seven-Star Hall, and the Profound Talisman sect interfere? If the top experts of these three mountain sects wanted to interfere, it would be enough to infuriate the dragons. When that happened, the consequences would be enough to raise a colossus like the Ancient Heaven sect to the ground. Although the dragons, phoenixes, and many other powerful mountain sects and beast clans of the human race had only allowed their younger generation to enter Tianhuang mainland, everyone knew that the top experts of these sects knew very well. However, everyone knew that with their status and cultivation base, if they were to make a move against the cubs of the beast clans or the disciples of the old monsters in the 9 regions, the consequences would be extremely serious. Just look at the green-headed flood dragon. After Du Xiaofu killed a green-headed flood dragon, its father, the green abyss flood dragon, immediately chased after him and wouldn't rest until he was dead. It was impossible for them to reconcile. Therefore, the countless experts in the surroundings couldn't guess what would happen next. Chapter 1088. Dragon 9, get over here. Today, I want to drink dragon blood, eat dragon meat, stew dragon bones, and extract dragon tendons. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu looked directly at Dragon 9 and shouted. His voice reverberated throughout the entire Thunder Rumble Mountain. What? Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, everyone was stunned. Everyone thought of countless things that would happen next, but no one thought that the Demon King Du Xiaofu would be so domineering in front of the pure-blooded dragons Dragon 9, the descendant of the true dragon. Drinking dragon blood, eating dragon meat, stewing dragon bones, and extracting dragon tendons. He was going to slay the true dragon. This kid, hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Gu Qingyang, the Honorable Golden Rock, Purple Sky Venerable, and the others who were not far away were also stunned. Their eyes were wide open. At this moment, Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Scarlet Rock, and Blue Fantasy had all retreated to the side. They each took elixirs and adjusted their breathing as they watched the scene. This is troublesome. Star Swallowing Star was hiding in the air where there were not many people. At this moment, there was only a bitter smile on his handsome face. In midair, Long Jiu's gloomy expression gradually calmed down at this moment. The murderous intent surging from the depths of his eyes also turned into indifference. He directly soared into the sky from the top of the carriage. The battle servants and the extraordinary young men and women of the Beast clan who followed him immediately retreated behind him. Dragon 9's body stopped less than 10 feet in front of Du Xiaofu. Even though he had seen Du Xiaofu easily kill a battle servant at the level of a perfected martial venerable, he still did not take Du Xiaofu seriously. He waved his hand and pointed at Du Xiaofu. The expression in his eyes became colder and colder. Dragon 9 finally opened his mouth and scolded Du Xiaofu, "You will die today." Dragon 9 only looked at Du Xiaofu and said 5 simple words, but his voice was extremely cold. As a pure-blooded dragon with the true dragon bloodline, he naturally had a terrifying majesty when he got old. Unknowingly, he made the powerhouses around him tremble. Some top-notch powerhouses who peeked at Dragon 9's Dragon 9 could not help but frown. "Even if you're a dragon, I'm going to beat you into a big worm today. Don't be so arrogant in front of me." Du Xiaofu opened his mouth and looked directly at Dragon 9. Golden light spread all over his body, and his purple robe was gradually drowned out by the golden light. The golden light began to become incomparably mysterious and revealed many mysteries. Then, a pair of golden wings spread out from his back. They were perfect and natural, and they exuded the aura of a supreme being. Boom! As the golden wings spread out, a terrifying aura swept out, causing the entire sky to tremble violently. Golden rock wings. The venerable golden rock was shocked. He knew the origin of the pair of golden wings on Du Xiaofu's back. Those were the real golden rock wings. Dragon 9's expression changed. Huang Ling, who was in the distance, also changed her expression. Many top-notch powerhouses with sharp eyesight were also shocked at the same time. Many of their auras even peeked at the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings spread out behind his back. His body was tall and slender, and he stood in the air like a peerless ferocious bird's cub. His black hair danced in the wind, and his golden eyes were dazzling. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had a domineering and intimidating aura, and he could look down on everyone. Dragon 9's expression changed, but it was only for a moment. Then, he spoke again in a cold voice, "So it's the golden rock wings. Today, you must die. I'll grind your bones to dust." His voice swept out. Dragon 9 was still arrogant and cold. He was arrogant, domineering, and conceited because he had the bloodline of a true dragon. He could tell that the wings on Du Xiaofu's back were related to the golden-winged rock. The dragon race and the golden-winged rock were mortal enemies. At this moment, the killing intent in Dragon 9's heart thickened. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the Dragon 9 battle suit let out a humming sound. Dark golden runes circled around his body, and dragon chi surged, shaking thunder rolling mountain. Dragon 9's aura spread, and the atmosphere in the area suddenly became tense. Everyone could feel that there was a chilling murderous intent between the two of them. It swept across the sky. "I'm going to eat you, big worm, today." Du Xiaofu cursed, like a peerless ferocious bird about to go crazy. Swoosh! Dragon 9 didn't say anything else. His face darkened again. His bright eyes suddenly closed slightly, and then opened again in an instant. Those pairs of eyes had turned into a strange dark golden color. At this moment, Dragon 9's dragon chi suddenly reached its peak, and his murderous intent soared to the sky. In the next moment, a terrifying dragon chi erupted from Dragon 9's body, as if it had turned into a terrifying storm. The faint sound of a dragon's roar reverberated, making people's hearts tremble. That terrifying aura spread out, causing the surrounding space to ripple like waves. It was as if space was about to be torn apart. The space rippled and cracked continuously, and the square below trembled incessantly. Is this the bloodline of a true dragon? The terrifying power of a pure-blooded descendant of a dragon? It's too strong. The human race can't compare at all. Seeing the terrifying aura on Dragon 9's body at this moment, voices of astonishment rose one after another. The bloodline of a true dragon was terrifying. The bloodline of a true dragon is also the sovereign of all monsters. It's too strong. At this moment, Honorable Golden Rock couldn't help but narrow his eyes. The higher one's cultivation, the more they could feel the power and terror of Dragon 9. The fact that he was a pup with the bloodline of a dragon was enough to prove the power of Dragon 9. The dragon chi surged, and a terrifying storm swept across the area. Du Xiaofu's body was facing Dragon 9's terrifying aura directly. However, his body stood tall in the void, and the golden wings on his back emitted a golden light. No matter how the storm swept up the surrounding waves, his body was still as immovable as a rock. "In front of us dragons, you're just an ant." Dragon 9 shouted coldly amidst the rolling dragon chi. Suddenly, his body moved like a flash of dark golden lightning, passing through the energy storm around him. Like a dark golden thunderbolt, he swept fiercely towards Du Xiaofu's body. Dragon 9's speed was unbelievably fast. In an instant, he appeared in front of Du Xiaofu, and a fist came crashing down like the sun. Facing the Dragon 9, Du Xiaofu seemed to have sensed it long ago. However, his expression changed slightly. He could feel the terror of Dragon 9 even more now that he was so close. The hand seal condensed, and a golden light exploded in front of him. The space distorted, and a golden hand seal floated above his palm. Du Xiaofu directly threw out the Shaoyang seal. In an instant, the void in this area trembled violently, and the light of the hand seal was dazzling. The Shaoyang seal swept out, and a powerful energy pressure spread out from it. This wasn't just a martial technique, but a type of martial art. It contained the profound meaning of heaven and earth, and it contained the mysteries of yin and yang. Countless people looked at it, and they couldn't help but feel their hearts and souls tremble. Boom! The two forces collided, and the sound of wind and thunder rumbled. The surrounding void shook like a tsunami. Dazzling runes spread out, and the terrifying aura spread out. The experts around were tongue-tied, and they were on tenterhooks. On the other hand, the two powerful young men's attacks were evenly matched, and there was no clear winner. Then, the two of them were blasted back several feet at the same time. Neither of them had the upper hand. Whoosh! Only the dark golden runes and golden light spread out in an arc high up in the sky, and there was a low explosion in the space. Dragon 9's expression changed slightly, but his gaze became more and more sinister. He didn't have the upper hand at all, and his original intention of trampling on this human Du Xiaofu couldn't be realized. Dragon 9 raised his head coldly to stop his body from retreating. Dragon Qi rolled out, and it was as if the shadow of a giant dragon was coiled around his body. Dragon 9's battle suit trembled, and with a powerful aura, he stretched out his claw. It was as if a dragon's claw was floating in the air, and it could tear the sky apart. Whoosh! Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and used the wave-like carefree steps. His domineering figure also floated like a god. Golden light burst out like a blazing sun, and like a ferocious bird, he swept forward. The two young men suddenly fought fiercely. This was a battle between the absolute pinnacle of the younger generation, and everyone watching was shocked. One was the supreme of the beast race, and he had the bloodline of the true dragon. The other was the demon king of the human race, and he was ferocious and domineering. The two of them fought fiercely, and their speed was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged several blows. Those with lower cultivation bases were unable to understand the fight between the two at all. They could only see the dense and fragmented runes spread out brightly, and the rumbling of thunder resounded in the air. Dragon 9's battle suit flapped in the wind, and all kinds of dragons were activated. His strength was extraordinary, and he had the bloodline of the true dragon. Since young, he had studied the many techniques and magical powers of dragons, and he had received the resources of dragons to nurture him. His strength was unparalleled. Dragon 9 formed a hand seal and attacked. The dark golden runes turned into a dragon shadow, and it carried a terrifying dragon aura as it rushed toward Du Xiaofu. Its power crushed the space, and it was very terrifying. Du Xiaofu opened and closed his wings, and the sound of wind and thunder was endless. It was as if he soared up 90,000 miles, shaking the universe. He activated the profound meaning of the grass of immortality, and a blade of grass seemed to be able to devour all life. Du Xiaofu used the profound meaning of the grass of immortality to wear down his opponent's attack. Then, the profound meaning of the grass of enlightenment flew out and counterattacked Dragon 9. Roar! Dragon 9's body was surrounded by a dragon shadow, and his body stood within a giant dragon. His aura was terrifying, and he rushed toward Du Xiaofu with a tyrannical posture that could crush everything. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings, and the pair of golden wings on his back seemed to be able to suppress the ancient times and suppress all life. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, and a claw mark flew out from his bent fingers again. The golden runes turned into a fierce claw mark that could tear the sky apart and crush the stars. Everything was incomparably domineering, and it shocked all life. The claw mark touched the giant dragon's shadow, and it emitted a dazzling dark red light, but then the giant dragon's shadow began to crack. Chapter 1089. When the two clashed, a resplendent glow of energy erupted. In the end, the dragon phantom was truly torn apart. Dragon 9 retreated, his chest heaving. His expression changed. He'd originally thought he could crush this puny human, but after exchanging blows, Dragon 9 discovered that Du Xiaofu was like a true golden-winged rock. He didn't seem human at all. His aura could even suppress his true dragon bloodline. He actually couldn't gain the upper hand. After all, he was Dragon 9. He had the bloodline of dragons. He'd traveled the 4 seas and swept through the younger generation. Even the ancient Yao clans and powerful clans of the Beast region were no match for him. But now, he was obstructed. This puny human he'd never taken seriously was actually strong enough to resist him. Roar! Dragon 9 roared. His eyes were dark gold and cold. His killing intent soared to the heavens. The next moment, Dragon Chi surged around Longjiu, and a series of dragon phantoms appeared on the surface of his body, wrapping around him in an instant. Then, 3 azure dragon phantoms appeared around Dragon 9. Roar! The 3 azure dragon phantoms waved their claws. They raised their heads and roared. The wind and clouds surged, shaking heaven and earth. It was as if true dragons had descended to suppress Du Xiaofu. This young master is not afraid. Du Xiaofu roared. He didn't retreat but moved forward. His hand seals changed rapidly. He used the star power Upanishad, the dark cave grass, the immortal grass, the purple flame demonic phoenix, the howling sky demonic tiger, the blue head flood dragon, the heaven desolate star swallowing python, the mysterious cloud red dragon, the desolate sky panther. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had urged all the power Upanishads and beast energy he had comprehended. All of his powers Upanishad and beast energy emerged at the same time, creating a dazzling halo that covered the entire sky and covered his gold body. He looked like a demon god descending to this world to attack Longjiu. It was boiling, trembling, even the heavens were about to collapse. At this moment, no one was unmoved. All of them were dumbstruck and horrified. In the distant sky, a middle-aged man with disheveled hair stood on a towering tree. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes under his hair. Freaks, both of them are freaks. Countless people in the surrounding thunder-rolling mountain couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The battle between Dragon 9 and Du Xiaofu had completely exceeded everyone's expectations. Dragon 9 has used his full strength. Under the pressure of the dragons, he can crush all his peers. Killing opponents above his level is a piece of cake. Du Xiaofu has comprehended too many profound beast energies. How can one person comprehend so many beast energies and profound? He is a freak. The profound of the grass of immortality, the profound of the nether grass, and the profound of the stars. How did Du Xiaofu cultivate to be able to comprehend so many profound truths? He's just a young man in his 20s. How can he comprehend so many beast energies so thoroughly? His talent is too terrifying. The surrounding crowd gasped for breath for Dragon 9 and Du Xiaofu. Among them, Dragon 9's strength seemed natural to the crowd because he had the bloodline of dragons and was a descendant of pure-blooded dragons. However, Du Xiaofu's strength was so strong that he could directly resist Dragon 9. This made Kyushu, who didn't know about Du Xiaofu's past, exclaim in shock. To them, the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was like a demon god descending from the heavens. Rumble. Above the firmament, muffled sounds were endless. One was a beast sovereign, while the other was a demon king of the human clan. Their battle condensed the void, and gradually formed a separate battle domain. Many profound truths and beast energies formed a divine ring. Du Xiaofu was enveloped in it. The wings on his back spread open, and his eyes shone with golden light. Then, dense golden runes began to seep out of his body. Boom! At this moment, the entire firmament trembled violently as if something terrible had happened. A thunderous sound resounded in the sky above Thunder Rolling Mountain. Then, some people saw a dazzling golden light about to burst out from Du Xiaofu's body, accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. Then, under countless trembling gazes, within the divine ring, the golden runes on Du Xiaofu's body connected with his body and turned into a huge phantom of a golden-winged rock. This golden-winged rock was like a real entity that was connected with Du Xiaofu. The wings on its back flapped, and it seemed to soar up 90,000 miles, shaking the universe. Under the belly of the golden-winged rock, sharp claws seemed to be able to tear apart the firmament and crush the stars. The terrifying phantom of the golden-winged rock appeared, and its eyes seemed to be looking down on the earth. Wind and thunder rumbled endlessly, as if it could suppress the ancient times and suppress all living things. At this moment, the profound truths and beast energies around Du Xiaofu's divine ring all gathered around the phantom of the golden-winged rock, with it as the center. This is the supreme golden-winged rock beast energy. This brat has actually reached that level. In mid-air, the venerable golden rock's eyes shone with a dazzling golden light. He could feel the terror of the golden-winged rock phantom the most. The golden light in his eyes fluctuated. At this moment, the venerable golden rock seemed to have obtained an opportunity and began to comprehend the phantom of the golden-winged rock. This could help him comprehend the golden-winged rock beast energy. The supreme beast energy of the golden-winged rock race can't be comprehended by those without the bloodline of the golden-winged rock. Who is he? Is he a human, or has someone from the golden-winged rock race come into being? In the sky, Huang Ling-er's eyes were also trembling. She also knew very well what profound truths the demon king Du Xiaofu was using at this moment. That wasn't an ordinary golden-winged rock's profound truths. That was the supreme beast energy of the golden-winged rock. Those without the bloodline of the pure-blooded golden-winged rock couldn't cultivate it. Roar, roar, roar. Around Dragon 9, 3 dragon phantoms soared into the clouds, roaring ferociously. It was also at this moment that the 3 dragon phantoms exploded with their strongest power, crushing the void. Break for me! Du Xiaofu roared. At this moment, it was as if he had truly transformed into a golden-winged rock. Numerous profound truths of the beast energies, with the phantom of the golden-winged rock as the center, traversed the firmament, solidified the void, and tyrannically crushed the void. Dragon 9 was shocked. In the last exchange, he realized that the mystique he had used was as if it had fallen into a quagmire. It could be suppressed and trapped by the opponent. At this moment, Dragon 9 felt that the demon king Du Xiaofu definitely wasn't human. That was the true bloodline of the golden-winged rock, and it was definitely a pure-blooded golden-winged rock bloodline. He was being suppressed. Is that the demon king Du Xiaofu's talent? This is the true demon king. What a monster! Thunder Rolling Mountain was in an uproar. Countless living beings were trembling in fear. Some human meridian souls seemed to be about to explode. I knew that this guy would be as tyrannical and ferocious as usual on Tianhuang mainland. In the ancient heaven sect, Xiang Ling, Yin Maqin, Si Ruofeng, Shui Ruhan, and the others were dumbfounded. They were all filled with anticipation and nervousness. The young hall master is peerless. Dongli Diao, Tao Yu, Wuma Sheng, and the other disciples of the 7-star hall were all fired up at this moment. The elders and experts of the 7-star hall all clenched their fists at this moment. Some of them were so excited that their eyes were filled with tears. Break! Dragon 9 roared. The 3 dragon phantoms merged into one and merged with him. In the end, it was as if he had turned into a dragon. His power increased explosively. Runes surged all over his body, and the dragon roared. The dragon soared into the 9 heavens, wanting to charge out of Du Xiaofu's divine ring. Awoo! Within Du Xiaofu's divine ring, all sorts of beast phantoms roared unceasingly. The phantom of a golden-winged rock spread its wings and soared into the sky. As it swept out, the golden light it emitted was like a blazing sun, dyeing the surrounding clouds golden. The brilliant light was like a sea of golden clouds rippling. The powerful aura of the golden-winged rock phantoms was about to shatter this part of the void. The golden light was like countless golden ribbons pouring down and hanging in the sky. Du Xiaofu seemed to have turned into a golden rock. He spread his wings and soared into the sky. Gee, the golden-winged rock screeched. The sound waves pierced through the clouds. The ferocious aura covered the sky, causing the entire space to tremble. On Thunder Rolling Mountain, under the might of the dragon and rock, all living beings trembled. The demonic beast veins and souls in the human race prostrated for no reason. They were irresistible, as if they were worshipping a supreme being. Whoosh! The golden-winged rock phantoms spread their wings. The rock soared into the sky, displaying the supreme beast energy of the golden-winged rock. It directly crushed the dragon phantoms into green runes. PFFF, Dragon 9, who was in the dragon phantoms, spat out dragon blood. He never thought that he would be at a disadvantage. Awoo! The dragon roared endlessly. Dragon 9's eyes finally turned completely dark gold. The dragon's aura was fully displayed, and the dragon soared into the sky. In the end, Dragon 9 also broke free from the restraints of Du Xiaofu, who was using all his strength to suppress the sky with his profound beast energy divine ring. Dragon 9 was a Dragon 9 after all. He was a pure-blooded descendant of dragons. It was not a lie that he could defeat his peers. Run? Where do you think you're going? Du Xiaofu shouted loudly. Under the shadow of the golden-winged rock, a dazzling golden talisman pattern spread out once again. After that, it evolved in the sky and transformed into a golden five-fingered mountain shadow. When the phantom of the five-fingered mountain appeared, the golden runes surged. It was as if it had been tempered thousands of times. It was as if it was a living creature. An endless aura swept across the sky. Rumble. Suddenly, for some unknown reason, the entire Thunder Rolling Mountain rumbled. The continuous mountain peaks began to tremble endlessly. That's Du Xiaofu's pulse spirit. Is he really going to slay the dragon's bloodline today? Some experts from Zhongzhou exclaimed. They knew that it was the Demon King Du Xiaofu's pulse spirit. This guy had even activated his pulse spirit. It definitely looked like he was going to slay the dragons. Pulse spirit transformation. Du Xiaofu's pulse spirit has definitely reached the stage of pulse spirit transformation. The Nirvana realm revered pulse spirit transformation. This Du Xiaofu is the Demon King. He's also a monster. That pulse spirit is not simple. It seems to have just been transformed by the red-bone horse monkey. Looking at Du Xiaofu's pulse spirit of the five-fingered mountain, many of the top experts were shocked again. At the level of pulse spirit transformation, every step was difficult to comprehend. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was at the Nirvana realm revered realm. He had such a comprehension of pulse spirit and stepped into the pulse spirit transformation stage. This was too shocking. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.